What's going on, podcasters? It's Level 1 Woke, back with another podcast. This is the first step to waking up. Today we got a special guest in, a friend, a brother. He's known him for a while now. He's an author. He's got a couple books published. The one he's talking about today is called My 9/11. It details his accounts of September 11th, 2001. And I'm going to let him take the mic, let him tell you a little bit about himself and about his book. So, Fernando, introduce yourself. Tell them what you wanted them to know about you.
Facts, my brother. What's up, Joe? Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you for the love and introduction. You know, I appreciate the love.
And the Tito's right there.
And I appreciate the Tito's, too.
For sure.
Let me get this popping with you.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Yeah, the book is called My 9/11, and it's basically based on a story that my personal story about what happened to me around that time and how that whole day was something that affected me. It affected everyone. You ask anyone, they have a story, a My 9/11 story.
Any patriot, any U.S. citizen, you know. Everybody was affected on that day for sure.
Anyone. Any American.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I mean, no Jewish people were affected because they all called off of work that day. So,
well,
yeah, there wasn't. Look it up. There wasn't one Jewish person that went to work that day in the World Trade Centers.
I'm not anti-Semitic.
I mean,
by
neither
any
am I.
means.
Hey, neither am I.
But you know,
I mean, if my job's gonna blow up, I don't want to be there either. So.
If you're American, it basically it affected you, and my story basically not only takes place before that day, on that day, it also takes place after that day because a few days afterward, within a week's time frame, I was at Ground Zero by a coincidence, and it's part of my story, and that's a story that I tell within the book. So the book is based on events encountered around that time frame, around that date, centered around 9/11. You know, that weekend.
Those experiences
to the end of that week. Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. To the next weekend. That first weekend to the next weekend, which when you do the math, that Sunday.
I mean, because they were still there. Like, you know, they were still there, you know, taking the building down a week after. So it's not like it was just gone. It was, you know, there were still things transpiring around those World Trade Centers a week later.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
Were you there as like a cleanup crew or?
I'll tell you what. You got to read the book because it's very intricate. I didn't see anything being knocked down. What I saw was stuff being recovered.
Tossed
out? It was a recovery. No.
Oh, they were searching.
Still,
you think still searching for people or?
That's funny you asked that. Because writing the book kind of made me realize that it was deeper than just going and helping. It was, writing the book, I realized they were still looking for people, obviously. And within the book, the chapter that I talk about actually going to Ground Zero, I explained that we had it is basically like a crew, like a chain gang that led up into a point in the rubble where we were digging out debris. And you know, we were passing buckets along back and forth. That's how small the effort, that's how detailed they were with it, and that's how I was able to understand that that's what they were doing, was looking for survivors and or just the remains of anyone that was in there.
Bodies still have to be claimed.
In my opinion, in my estimation, when I was there that day, we were looking for dead bodies, but after actually writing the book, I realized we were also looking for survivors. It was only 5 days later.
Yeah.
It was only 5 days later. And that was that Sunday. So it was
do you know,
less than a week's time from when the plane hit.
Do you know when the last person alive was pulled out? Like how long after the initial hit and the towers fell? Like, did they find somebody 2 days later still in there alive? Dude, not sure.
I don't know. I saw the movie, but I don't know how. You know, there's a movie that I think they spent like 72 hours in something.
Damn. Oh, was that the one with Nicolas Cage?
Yeah,
where he was trapped under there?
Yeah, the movie done by Oliver Stone. It was done well, but you know,
It was.
It's not something that I experienced. Yeah. I was there on Sunday. After that Tuesday. That's 5 days later. And
you were in New York at the time though, but you just wasn't in that location, or you showed up to New York after it happened. You went back.
Well, good question. I grew up in a town called West New York, New Jersey. I lived in that town, and it's Hudson County. That's where I grew up, and that's basically along the Hudson River, and it's one of the Jersey towns that border the Hudson River that face the New York skyline. So I grew up in that town, and I grew up also, having family in New York City as well. So I had close ties to both sides, and it was just a coincidence. It was a coincidence how I wound up at Ground Zero. It's divine intervention. You know what I mean? It was God. It has to be. There's no way that it was just something that was random.
Yeah, that's an event that it doesn't matter like where you were at or where you're at now. You remember what you were doing that day, Absolutely. When it happened, Absolutely. Where you were at. That was just
everyone.
They actually, these scientists around the world, they have these probes that measure. They measure like I don't know if it's magnetic, but they measure vibration, because we live on frequencies and vibrations. So they measure like vibrations and frequencies, human vibrations and frequencies. So like when Princess Diana died, Princess Diana, whatever y'all like to call her, when she passed away, there was a big frequency spike around the whole world. Like emotionally, everybody was involved. And 9/11 was one of those same things. I don't know if you ever heard the theory of, it's called collective consciousness. Have you ever heard of that theory? Because I think that's when we have like large world catastrophes, this is like collective consciousness comes into play.
I believe so.
Everybody's affected by it. Everybody's feeling it. So what collective consciousness is, I think it was first mentioned in a book, 1895, 1905, over 100 years ago, old book. And the guy mentioned, he phrased collective consciousness. And cheers.
Cheers to your podcast.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes.
So they tried to basically survey and research collective consciousness. And what they were doing, there was a small island off Japan. We encourage you to look this information up. There was this small island off Japan where they were doing, I forgot what it was, some kind of experiments with monkeys. But in the process of doing the experiments with monkeys, every time the monkeys did something right, they would throw them a sweet potato into their enclosure.
Oh, wow.
And so the monkeys loved the sweet potatoes, but they didn't like the dirt, like picking them up from the dirt and having to eat them. So one of the smaller monkeys, one of the baby monkeys, started washing his sweet potato in a nearby water pond or whatever that they had in their enclosure. So he started washing them before they started eating. And they observed this monkey showing the elder monkeys how to wash it.
He was woke.
So what happened, he was woke. He was waking up. He was on his way. So these other monkeys, these elder monkeys, started washing their sweet potatoes. And once it got to like, I don't know how they call it, maximum effort. Like, you know how you do your job, wherever you work, you do it so much it's second nature to you. Like you don't have to think about it no more.
Mechanical.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's like muscle memory almost. And the same thing with these apes or these monkeys. Once they figured out that they wash the sweet potato so much, it becomes second nature to them. Now we're always washing before we eat. And once it became second nature to them, these scientists started observing monkeys on nearby islands also washing their food at the same time. Like consciously they were connected. So, scientists and governments, anything they try on monkeys, they got to try on humans. So they did this theory on humans, but they did it in such a way that they went to Britain and they showed a picture, and the picture was a collage. It was one person's face, but that face was made up of 100 smaller faces. And they surveyed a bunch of people and they asked them, how many faces do you see? Most average person couldn't see no more than 6 faces, but there was 100. That was in Britain. So then they went to London, aired it live on TV, showed everybody in London where all 100 faces were, right? So then they went, so everybody in London knows. So we got people that know where it's at now.
Yeah.
So they went back to Britain, surveyed totally different people, and then all of a sudden now these people started seeing more faces because consciously in London they know it's there. So like that's conscious connection. That's like when 9/11 happened, Princess Diana. Like we have these.
Would it be through word of mouth though? You think this particular?
Not back then. Not when. Back then it was before the internet. That those tests were done before the internet. Before. They had the television, but the television wasn't being broadcast like overseas, like the way they are now. We didn't. Yeah. Everything wasn't via satellite back then. But you could. That's one way, of course.
I mean, I agree. We were collectively.
Everybody comes together when things like 9/11 happen.
Yeah, it was a big tragedy. It was a collective tragedy for everyone, not only New Yorkers, but Americans as a whole.
Oh, for sure. And we've been in war since then. We've been in war for 18 years, whatever, 19, 17 years. We've been in war since that day. There's kids that been born after that all they know is war. They've lived in war the whole time. Your daughter.
I mean, my daughter, but she doesn't know it really. Like, it hasn't hit home. Thank God.
It's not on our home front. Yeah.
Hopefully, it will. She'll never be able to witness something like that.
For sure.
But for me, I was grown enough and old enough to know that it was something that was otherworldly. Well, not otherworldly because it did happen, but what I mean is it was something where it was an extreme situation. It wasn't something where, hey, there was a bombing here or there was a bombing there, and everyone or a shooting somewhere. It was a humongous tragedy that all was happening on the same day.
Yeah,
because forget about
it's devastation in multiple ways.
Forget about what people think that is a conspiracy theory when you talk about the Pentagon. But when you're hearing the news and you see that one tower got hit, I was up early enough where we thought it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was an
Everybody
accident.
was watching by the time the second one came in.
A plane hit a building in New York before that. It was a pilot that killed himself.
But
a small Cessna.
I mean, what kind of was a giveaway though is they tried to blow up the World Trade before too. Was like 92, like a bomb went off in the parking garage or
Andy,
something
I'm
like
old
that.
enough to remember that. Excuse me, Joe. I'm old enough to remember that as well.
Blow up like the World Trade.
I'm old enough to remember the original bombing, and it's something.
It kind of rings a bell, like it kind of brings that memory back when 9/11 happens. Like, damn, they.
I didn't think that.
No, it didn't. It didn't cross.
You know what? It was too
me
fresh.
Being like a conspiracist to a point, a factual conspiracist, but that would have been one of the first things. I kind of filter in and out all ideas.
I'll tell you why I didn't think that, because it was too fresh. It was too fast in my mind, because I was up early.
You're still in shock.
I was up early that day before 9:00. I get a phone call. Hey, turn on the news. Look what happened. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Turn on the news? They're like, turn on the news. Turn it on. It was a buddy of mine, and when I turned it on, we're looking at it, I'm like, wow, oh, okay. And it's a commercial airline. Oh my goodness, This is terrible. And then the anchor cut in right then and there when it's processing. I'm not even thinking of the terrorist situation. He said the second tower got hit. That's when kind of the walls closed in on me. And I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is a terrorist attack. And not a minute after that, he mentions the Pentagon getting hit. So I'm like, hey, look, America's under attack. It's the end of the world. It's the end of America. We're at a war with whoever it might be. They're trying to destroy us. There might be something else that comes to New York, like an atomic bomb or something.
At that time, your thought process was further along the lines of terrorists than mine was. I was thinking, all right, we've been getting false flag propaganda for 10, 20 years now. Bush is in office for sure. And then, I mean, once you get into the financial aspect of the world trade and what floors were being rented out to who, and how, a new insurance policy was just signed over. Like, the dude that owned the World Trade got money when they fell. He profited probably more than anybody except for the bankers once we ended up, all right, because once 9/11 happened, we went to war. And America as a country is in debt, so we have to borrow our money from these banks. And a lot of time you have these banks manipulating both sides of the war because they finance both sides. They make money off and they put you in debt. They don't care, and they know you're not going to be able to pay the debt off. America's $22 trillion in debt. They keep giving us money. We spend $1 billion a month on war or something crazy like that. Like, they know we're not going to be able to pay it back, but they get to do what they want to do in this country as far as lobby politicians. They fucking get whatever laws they pass, like they want passed through buying politicians. They manipulate, politicians and political offices since Abraham Lincoln was fighting off central bankers.
I believe that's all a possibility. I believe it's all a possibility that Bush and his family was involved, and the elder Bush, and they were involved with the Bin Ladens, and they were involved with the Saudis.
Well, there's proof of all that as far as them being involved with Bin Laden, Afghanistan, and Al Qaeda. The CIA trained Al Qaeda, gave them a few $1 billion in the 90s. But as far as them directly being involved with 9/11, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think that was a terrorist attack, though. This is the thing, because I've watched this evolve. Before the war on terror, which is the most clever thing they could have ever done, it was really strong in the 80s and the 90s, right? They had the war on drugs, which if the government's pumping the drugs into society, that war is never going to end. They need these wars, these financial wars that will carry on, and they could just make money off of it and profit. So just like Tupac said, instead of war on poverty, they got a war on drugs so the police can bother me. That's all they doing. That's just a way in for them to fuck with you. Oh, we smell drugs. You seem like a drug house. It's a way for them to fuck with you. But once the war on drugs, basically crack and heroin, once that slowed down a little bit, what they did is started putting heroin in every fucking prescription pill they give you now. Fucking Xanax probably got fucking heroin in it now. Like everything got a small trace of heroin in it because that's that addicting shit. Of course. So now that there's no more war on drugs, and now they're selling us all the drugs and got everybody addicted. You know how many fucking celebrities are overdosing nowadays? How many? Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's an epidemic, and it wasn't like that in the 90s. It definitely wasn't. So now that the war on drug is over, because they got everybody hooked on the shit. So now they call it a war. Because, you do what they tell you not to. They say don't do that. Of course you're going to want to go and do that. So it's a war on drugs. I'm going to do drugs. I'm a badass. All right. They wanted you to do those drugs. They wanted to get you hooked. Now you're hooked. So now we go to the next war. It's the war on terrorism, which, like I said, we've been in war since 9/11 with multiple countries, or 1 or 2, 3 at a time. And the war on terrorists is a never-ending war. There's always going to be a threat. They're always going to create a threat if there's not a threat. Yeah. False flag propaganda and stuff like that. So that's why I wasn't buying the whole Bin Laden did this. Like, y'all worked with this guy. Y'all were in bed with this guy. Like,
so that's
the Bush family.
That's why I'm mainly saying it's absolutely a possibility that they were in bed either with him or they caused it, and they shifted blame. But even that, you can tell that they went to war with the wrong country anyway. They went to war with Iraq instead of Afghanistan.
Well, they went to war with Iraq because Saddam Hussein tried to kill Bush.
That brought the war to their doors. It's not the United States. It was the president and his advisors, and because they wanted the smoking mirrors, and it's something that he had to finish for
his father.
Saddam
Hussein tried to kill Bush's father. Bush Sr. was, so that was going to happen as soon as Bush took office. He shouldn't have been in office. The whole recount in Florida was a fucking scam. Second recount, like, this guy lost twice and still got put in the office.
That's amazing.
And you got poor fucking George. Like,
people talk about Trump, they forget about the Bushes. They forget about, and there might be another one coming and being elected and coming into office.
That's because all these millennials were too young.
The CIA don't come and get me. I'm looking at all these cameras, so they get it correct. We
got Alexa right here recording everything we say. So she's the biggest snitch. Amazon has contract with the CIA, like a $30 million contract or something with the CIA. Y'all look that shit up. Google that shit.
We're gonna have to stop.
Everybody
saying that
tweet
acronym.
The CIA and say fuck y'all.
We had to stop saying that acronym. You can only say it so many times in the podcast before they flag you. So, fuck the CIA.
Yeah, so YouTube might not post this one, but we're on every other major distribution platform for podcasts or music.
And so, another reason for me coming on the podcast, when we spoke about it, we're homeboys. We've known each other a long time. I know, we both come a long way to be able to do something and put it and make it come into fruition. I wanted to come and also explain that it was real. It was absolutely real. For anyone who's too young to even remember what 9/11 is, it's the worst day in America's history.
For sure.
As far as, our era.
There was no hologram plane either. A lot of people think it was a hologram. That's disrespect for those people's lives that lost, those people's families that
saw
mourned.
pieces of the plane. Like, I
so
can
what
tell you.
What happened with the Pentagon then? How come we didn't
plane.
see plane with the Pentagon then? Like, that makes no sense at all.
Well, I wasn't in D.C. I was in New York.
But you got to admit there's something. You got to admit that there's something off and there's something suspicious about a fucking Boeing jet supposedly hitting the Pentagon, and now you don't even see as much as an engine part or propeller. You don't see nothing as like you do with the World Trade.
It's possible that it disintegrated. It's possible.
But how?
You never know.
Jet fuel don't get hot enough to heat metal though.
Listen,
not that type of metal.
I can tell you this. I saw pieces of the plane. There were very, very small pieces of the plane. Comparatively speaking, because it was only like a wing.
But look where it came from. It hit 70 stories up, fell down with the building and all that. Building fell on it. Of course it's going to be demolished.
Absolutely.
But you're talking about, a 3, 4, 5-story Pentagon? All right, it flew into the side. It looked like an explosion.
Probably disintegrated.
And how lucky are these people, right, that this plane happened to crash into a side of the Pentagon that was under construction. It was empty. Nobody was working there. Nobody was there at the time. And it just happened to hit that side?
It could have been a bomb.
I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences.
What I'm trying to say
I believe in purpose.
What I want to put out there is that it was absolutely real. It wasn't fake. There's no way you can fake what I saw. It wasn't a movie set. And, I was part of the cleanup crew. It was one day. It was maybe about, I want to say 2 to 3 hours. That's all it felt like. It came and went.
Do you have any footage quickly. Or pictures from when you were doing that?
It
really wasn't that time
It's before all the
that social media boom and shit.
Before everything. Before, it was 2001. There's people. There's half the world.
And then not only that, it's not like the time to be taking pictures after that just happened. But somebody should.
There's a lot of babies that were born after that day. It's already what we talking about. Almost 18 years ago. Almost 18 years. That's a whole adult right there.
I was in school.
It's a whole adult.
I remember everything in school was stopped. They were sending us home early. They probably thought the world was gonna end too or something because we got sent. I'm like, I'm in Florida. Why am I going home? Like, I don't mind. Like, because I'd be skipping right now if I wasn't going home anyway. So
let me tell you this.
Kids don't skip.
I came out of school. I came out of county the night before. I missed a couple of days at work. I was working at Foot Locker. Shout out to Foot Locker. I love that place. And I went to work after I saw the news. Because I'm like, I missed so many days. I got to go back to work. I don't want to lose my job. And I told the assistant manager, because that's the highest superior that was there. I told her, nobody's coming to buy sneakers in here today. No. It's the end of the world. And that's how we were able to close up shop. And whatever else happened to me, you got to read the book because it's a whole story after that led me to Ground Zero. It's a series of events you can't make up. There's no story you could tell me, any script, any movie script, any book. You can't make some shit like that up of how I wound up going there. So
let me ask you, is it like a docu-series book, like a documentary style type book, or? I mean, it's documenting your what you've went through that day or that week or two. So it kind of is basic.
I kind of did research before I wrote it. I didn't just write something.
It's a factual book, though.
It's not the most, the longest story in the world. You're not gonna get like 300 pages. It's maybe about 100 pages. So it's a light read. And it's considered, and the pages are big. The book is pretty large size, so the print is easy to read, and you're able to see everything clearly. Yeah. It's a pretty easy read. You can
print size is good.
You can do it in a couple of nights. If you're a reader, you could do it in one night. But that's how I wanted it to feel. I wanted it to feel quick, but long enough to tell the story that keeps you hooked. You know what I mean? And
for sure.
And it's all facts. It's all factual in there. And when I did the research, where I wrote the book as a short novel. You know what I mean? That was the best fit for it. It's a short novel.
Fernando, he does the short novels, screenplays, short films, and stuff like that. We actually spoke about co-writing a movie.
Yeah.
together
all the time,
which we gotta eventually make some moves on that, because I have like 4 of them that I'm working on.
Now
that I got the podcast going, it's like
it'll get done. It's just to get
treading
it done.
water slowly. Like
you did what you needed to do to get your podcast going. I did what I needed to do to get this book off the ground. And it's just,
so what would you say would be your best experience from that journey in that book? Is there a certain part you like the best? Like, you really got to read this, and this is...
honestly, it doesn't feel like I did anything. And the best part about it is the love, the
feedback,
the
positive feedback,
positivity around it.
Yeah,
and
for sure. The energy.
It's flattering.
Positive vibes.
It's flattering
positive
to
vibes
get.
Only.
Yeah, it's flattering to get compliments.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
for sure.
whether they read it or whether just complimenting me,
especially
for
when you like worked
something.
your own hard time.
Exactly.
You were doing it as a hobby at the time or something. It wasn't like your full-time job. We're not writers. We don't have that luxury of just sitting around writing all day. But
I probably wouldn't write a word.
So of course that makes the feedback and the positivity, the positive feedback and the vibes around it, it makes it all much better when that's something you worked from beginning to the end. You did it all on your own. That's your accomplishment, your goal you set. And yeah, it does. It feels good.
Well, that's what it is. It's the compliment about the accomplishment.
Yeah.
So people tell me, "Hey, you wrote a book," and they'll be surprised at first, and I'm saying, "Yeah, it's short. It's something small." Well, no, don't look at it that way. At least you did something. And I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it." And they always support, man. I got friends and I got family.
And for those that are listening and interesting,
where
is it available at as far as purchasing?
It's available on Amazon. I used
My
to come
911
up,
on
it used
Amazon.
to come up as My 911. I'm not sure if I'm doing something incorrectly with the marketing right now. I haven't even really pushed it. This is more like, it was more for me, and I'm getting a lot of love.
Turned into something more.
Exactly. It wasn't even originally a book, but I decided to go that route, and I put it out, and you can get it on Amazon. But when you look it up, if you're looking for it, you can look up the last name under the title that I put for my my author name. It's DeBrazzi, so it's spelled DEB as in boy RAZZI.
DeBrazzi.
Yes, sir. Z like Zamunda, so DeBrazzi, ZZI, DEBRAZZI, DeBrazzi. Fernando S. DeBrazzi. You'll pull it up. It'll say My 911, and I'm working on just getting the My 911 as the main search function. You know, when you
tag
look
word
it up on Amazon. Yeah, tag but word, it's something that I have. It used to come up that way. It just doesn't anymore. And the point of choosing
is it something
that
you
name,
changed or no?
No, I don't think so. I just think that it started. I mean, not that it built traction, but I looked it up a couple times. I have family members that looked it up. I have one of my sister-in-law bought a book off Amazon. She was the first, first and only one. It's been a couple of months, but
yeah.
What are you gonna do? You can't
for sure.
You can't get it popping right away.
No. That stuff definitely takes time for sure.
So now it doesn't come up under My 911 any longer. Now other books come up. It's kind of strange. They came out of nowhere. I don't know what that's about. But this is the only one. This is what the book looks like. This is the cover. You'll see it when you bring it up on Amazon. And it's not that serious. You don't have to get it, but if you do get it, I appreciate the love.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good read. It's a
go out, cop the book. It's not a lot. It's not a lot of money. It's very inexpensive. It's a good read. I'm like halfway through it now myself. It's very interesting to see someone else's perspective, like, in-depth perspective of things that transpired right around that time. And, it's all memory, factual based. It's not, non-facts or anything. So,
yeah.
And not only that, like you were saying, you said it wasn't meant to be a book. Were you trying to write a movie or a film at first, or?
I'm originally like a screenwriter, at heart. I always was into movies and figured out how to write them. And
self-taught?
Self-taught. It's not like I
sure.
got anything out there.
Yeah.
I finished one and I worked on a few, but it became something that was kind of my hobby. And I started to write it as a
movie,
a screenplay,
a movie, script. Yeah,
as a script.
I ask you that because for me, writing screenplays and movie scripts, which I have a few that I'm working on, very big ideas and concepts that I shared with everybody and got a lot of positive feedback on them.
Yeah.
But for me, the problem was trying to write a screenplay is. I'm self-taught as well. I took a few prep classes online on formatting and stuff like that, but I'm self-taught as well, so it came very hard to me to write it in the form of a script. Like before I took the prep classes and before I started looking up the info, every time I kept trying to write a movie script, it was coming out like a book. So it was like opposite for you. You was writing a screenplay and it turned into a book, but I couldn't get away from like. They were coming out like a book. They were coming out like a book. So I had to educate myself a little bit on it and get it down. And, the rest is rock and roll history.
Yes, sir. And the first movie coming out, 2025.
Y'all better cop the tickets now.
That'd be nice.
Hey, I'm gonna put them on the link at the bottom of this video. All your support for buying the tickets is gonna go to the production of the movie.
the level 1 woke documentary.
For real, yeah. I got a couple documents. I want to do a docu-series where it's like a series of documentaries, and I got a couple ideas that I could work off of, and I have a few people that are willing to help and in whatever way they can, support.
That's awesome.
So.
That's all. The podcast is a great launch pad.
For sure.
And you got a great outlet. I've seen what you've been working with.
Yeah. I haven't released anything yet.
I'm impressed.
I have at least 4 to 5 episodes. Everybody, I have like 4 or 5 episodes done. They're going to be released very soon, which by the time y'all watch this podcast, they would probably already be out. But I wanted at least five done before I start releasing them. That way I could put out 3 the first week, gain a little traction, keep people involved and interacting, and then just like any normal podcast, video podcast, maybe do like 1 a week, every Sunday, every Saturday, Monday or whatever. Release 1 podcast every week on the same day. But yeah, it's it takes time.
I would hope you keep the ball rolling because that's exactly where you would separate yourself from the rest.
For sure.
Like for example, when somebody tells me, well, I started writing a book, I'm like, well, all right, well, finish it,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean it from any place. I'm not coming from, looking down on anybody. It's encouragement,
For sure.
And that's what I used to tell myself.
Reinforcing encouragement.
Like you could look in the mirror and say, well, I'm writing a book, all right? And then your alter ego tell you, we'll finish it. And,
It's a battle. It's a battle sometimes because
I'm a big
in the
believer
depressed
that you gotta
mind,
pick yourself up.
Yeah, for sure. In the depressed mind, like a mind that's oppressed or depressed, it's a little different. They start something and then they automatically doubt themselves. There's self-doubt. Even in people that are self-confident, there's still self-doubt. There can never be a situation where there's no self-doubt. Like even rich people that have all the money, and look at Michael Jackson. You think there was no self-doubt there? Of course there was. Look at all the surgery the guy went through, which I liked him perfect the way he was, in the beginning. Like you're a king, be a king. That's it. Don't try to be nothing else than that.
I don't even want to talk about Michael Jackson because I just saw
you watched that series,
Leaving Neverland, and
that's bullshit, bro.
I don't
bullshit,
know,
bro.
It's a touchy subject for me because it deals with kids. You know
let's
what I mean? So
I absolutely understand.
No,
let's not because I want to talk about it for a little bit, a few minutes. But we're definitely getting back to my 9/11 because that's the thing. But this is a very big, relevant topic that's around right now. So let me break this down to you. You've seen Leaving Neverland, right? I haven't seen it.
Bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces. My brother was at work talking about it, and
a little bit of the first episode.
My brother. All right, I was adopted by my best friends, which were a black and white family. So my father was black, my mom was white. Now my brother is mixed. He looks Puerto Rican or something. But he's black and white. And he's at work. We're working, and he's
the homie.
He is just, fuck Michael Jackson this, fuck Michael.
Because he got kids.
But to me, as a white person, knowing that a black person as a male stepped in to take care of me and my sisters when my dad passed away, like how could you watch a documentary and then like go against, your people? But the way I look at it is like that's a black man that was on top of the world, and he was on top of the world when he died. Whether he was fucking had vitiligo and he turned white, which vitiligo ran in his family. It's a disease. It's a hereditary disease. It ran in his family. His grandmother had vitiligo.
Yeah.
So he wasn't bleaching his skin. He might have lightened certain parts of his skin to look the same color on camera. You don't want to fucking look like a zebra or whatever. So he lightened, maybe his hands and his neck to look all the same color. But the dude was a black man. He was the most recognizable black man in the world. There was people in their countries that probably didn't know who their president was or their king or their queen, but they knew who the fuck Michael Jackson was. He was the most famous person on the earth. He was a black man. He had power. He had money. They're destroying him after death. And this is why I say that, right? Because I didn't watch the docuseries. It's not that I didn't want to. It's I knew about the family before it came out. Now, if a lot of people don't know, this family lost their lawsuit, right? They lost their lawsuit. He ended up being found not guilty. All right. When the jurors found him not guilty from the beginning, it was a 10-2 ratio. 10 not guilty, 2 guilty. Right. Now, I've watched documentaries from the jurors' side, and years later, they're admitting, we wanted him to be guilty because we just felt he was guilty. The evidence didn't point to him being guilty. They felt that he was guilty. Whether they were probably that 2% that fed into that media, wacko, jacko, and, trying to destroy any rich fucking black person like they always do look what they did to Dave Chappelle. Crackhead running to Africa. Look what they did to Pac. He raped a girl after he made songs like Brenda Got a Baby and Keep Your Head Up for the Women. Look what they did to Tyson. Oh, he raped his own wife, took him out in his prime, right? Ali, take him out in his prime. So there's a pattern of this going on.
It is systematic. I just, you go by what a documentary tells you because they present facts. Same thing with you. You want to put out a docuseries. You present facts.
That document didn't present facts.
Well, what I'm trying to say is you present information that appears to be factual.
All right. So let me give it to you from another perspective. All right. So before Michael Jackson was investigated on those charges, right? Before that, there was a documentary put out. And I forgot the dude's name, but y'all should look it up. Might be Indian or Arabic or something, but he's a fucking scumbag, and he was sued over ethics, like the way he like shoots his videos and his documentaries. Like he lies about everything, and he was sued over like work ethics and shit, like just falsely promoting or whatever. But this is the guy that put a documentary out in the early 90s. Now the documentary documented and was saying that Michael Jackson was fucking with this family that was living on Never Ranch, which ended up being the kids and the family that sued him.
Yeah.
This documentary came out, said Michael Jackson was like molesting these kids or whatever, right? Now, the feds watched this documentary, and just like anything else, they stop it, or they think there's incriminating evidence in it, they won't let it be released. Just like the Biggie and Tupac movie, City of Lies.
Yeah.
They recorded a movie, about Detective Russell Poole that basically solved Biggie and Tupac's murder, and he ended up uncovering dirty cops. He got kicked off the case. All right, so Johnny Depp, Forrest Whitaker, they just did a movie about not even a year ago called City of Lies, and this movie was pulled from every shelf. They never let them put it out. I think the feds found out that there was real evidence in it, and that's why. So the shit's still being investigated. So they have a history of doing that. So what happened was the feds seen this documentary on Michael Jackson. So of course they went to the family first. They questioned this kid. Did Michael do this to you? That did he do anything? Mother didn't. No, nothing happened, right? So then they go to Michael next. Let me question you. Did you let them know we're on him? So Michael knows I'm a black man. I'm a powerful black man. I'm a rich black man. Dude won like fucking, what was it, 12 Grammys in one night? Like, ridiculous. All right. So they question him. They leave. Michael goes back to this family and says, y'all got to move off Neverland Ranch. Some crazy shit's going on. I don't know what's going on. He kicks them off Neverland Ranch. He's not supporting them no more, right? So then they go back to the feds. Oh, Michael did do this and Michael did do that. My theory is probably because they were mad that he kicked them off Neverland Ranch. Now, let me tell you a little back history about this family. Maybe 5 years before this whole Michael Jackson thing, 10 to 5 years before this whole Michael Jackson thing took place, the mother, I believe, was caught shoplifting in JCPenney's, right? And I think she tried to resist the security guard and he might have hurt her. And she sued. And they got a multi-million-dollar lawsuit from JCPenney's. Yeah. So this just tells you these people are crooked as fuck. Yeah. Because they're stealing, they get hurt, and then they sue. They get money from it. Multi-million-dollar lawsuit, right? So then a few years after that, these people do like a cancer, like they start up a GoFundMe, basically. There was no GoFundMe back then, but they start up a GoFundMe because they try to say one of their kids have cancers, right? And they were taking in a lot of celebrity support at that time from, oh, my kid has cancer. Chris Tucker was fucking with that family. He was helping them. He was giving them money. He was sitting in with them, talking to them, supporting them. And it came down that Chris Tucker ended up telling Michael Jackson. Chris Tucker backed away and stopped fucking with his family because he felt that they were trying to take advantage of him. Yeah. Those were his words. Okay. So he told Michael Jackson, he said, look, those people are after more than cancer money because they were trying to collect money for cancer at the time. Yeah. Watch it. And they told him. And this all came out on trial because Chris Tucker was called to the stand. Michael Jackson hung around Macaulay Culkin when he was a kid. Like, you know, all these kids, celebrity kids, were brought to the stand. No, he didn't do nothing to me.
Yeah, they said that he was not guilty.
Yeah.
Even they brought him up in the movie. And I don't know.
He tried to go back on it and say something did happen now.
Guilty or not?
I didn't watch it. But did he go back and try to say something did happen now?
No.
He didn't?
No. He didn't. Him and I think Corey Feldman, but Corey Feldman wasn't even in the movie that I saw. I
heard Corey Feldman came back and I heard Corey Feldman came back and did after years and did say, "Oh, Michael did do something."
No, he said that he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. I was gonna say dudes are being paid off.
A recent video that I seen off of Instagram.
I mean, like you trying to kill the king after he died. This is a black man's image that you're trying to destroy. But listen,
it's a touchy subject.
It's a touchy subject. But how can you not put two and two together with what this family been through? Like, now let's get into the legal part of the trial, right?
Well, the younger thing with this whole R. Kelly thing too.
The older brother the older brother testified that he went up the stairs, went to Michael's room, cracked the door open, and seen Michael performing these activities with his brother. But the thing is, what this kid didn't know, or the family at the time, that Michael Jackson had two set of alarm systems on his stairs, one at the bottom and one at the top. So you're tripping two alarms before you get to the top. You don't think if he is doing something that he's going to hear those alarms and stop what he's doing so he don't get caught?
I don't know. It's too much, man.
It's a lot. But like, I mean, once you add it all up, this is why the
Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
This is why the jurors cannot find him guilty because he didn't do it.
I can't even talk about it.
But the thing is, when it comes down to it, they took what, like, they do to, so maybe because you're not ethnically, like, you know, a black person or African American person, maybe it'd be a little bit more you understanding or sensitive to it. But the thing is, there's a pattern. They do this to people.
I know.
They take what a black person loves and uses it against them. He loved kids. He loved helping kids, and they use that against them. Look at Bob Marley. Right? He had a Nazi caregiver, a Nazi doctor taking care of him, and he loved soccer. And they said one day he in the doctor's office, he put his shoe on and he got poked by a needle. He ended up getting cancer in his foot. He loves soccer. You play soccer with your feet. Yeah. So they told him, we got to cut your foot off or you're going to die. And he said no. And he died. Like, they take what you love and they take that shit from you, bro. Like, they use that shit against you. The world is ran by white, racist, conservative motherfuckers. Don't get it twisted, for sure. That's probably what was who behind 9/11.
I'm not ethnically black per se, but I have African blood that runs through my body.
Oh yeah, everybody does. We do. I do.
But you know, in a major way, because I'm from the Dominican Republic. Well, my parents are from the Dominican Republic,
Puerto Rico, Dominican, Cuba. A lot of African. Naturally, Africans migrated there willingly.
But what I'm trying
help,
to tell you is that I'm slaves as were black moved in. As you could get when you're talking about the Latino community.
For sure.
The Spanish
and complexion. You a little dark. Hey, the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
Tell them. But so
it's the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
You know what? Now that you say that, I got Pac in my book. You know,
do you?
You know that's the homie,
right?
I know you fucks with him.
When you write 9/11 for sure.
Right on the wall right there.
My boy MC New York. That's what he used to go by when he first started. MC New York. You ever heard the song?
Bmore in Baltimore.
Yeah, for sure. You ain't never heard the song "The Case of the Misplaced Mic"?
I think I got that from.
I went home. My mic was missing. I must be tripping. Like that was storytelling rap back in the day.
I got that CD from your pops, matter of fact.
Bro, this guy.
I think I got that.
This guy has every album, like Tupac album, uncovered, still in the rapper.
Yeah,
like,
man. Yeah.
That's how I became a fan. Was that guy?
I think I might have beat him for that CD, bro. I still owe him that CD.
Bro, you know how many he had to buy? Cause a lot of his Tupac CDs he had opened in a case. This was, back in early 2000s. All the CDs were still a case. All the music were still on CDs. That's the main way we listened to music back then. Yeah. And I fuck around, and he probably don't know this, so when he watches this, he's going to figure out what happened to his CDs. But I fuck around, and like I was skipping school one day. We're in Cimarron, the apartments. We're at my homeboy's crib. We smoking, whatever. Got like every Pac album ever came out. We jamming. I ended up getting so high that I fucking bounced out the crib, left his CDs there. And my homeboy's older brother, Albie, he's fucking bass head motherfucker. This dude ends up like pawning them or selling them or something. But maybe he even kept them for his own enjoyment. But I never seen him again.
Get the fuck.
And like I eventually like tried to buy him more Pac CDs and slide them in there. He never opened them. He's like, fuck that, I'm not opening these.
Damn, that's foul,
but
man.
What do you what do you get into with Pac in your book?
Well, it's a funny story. Like everything in my book, there's a lot of coincidences, like I was saying, that happened to me, like that, just bring the story full circle. And it just so happens that one day I was randomly walking around in the streets of New York with my older cousin, a female of mine that I consider her like my sister. And
Darren,
Darrenette? No, not Darrenette. It was Grace. Okay. And it's funny because in the book I try to change everyone's name around. So yeah, her name is Grace in the book. So
in the book it's Grace.
Yeah, even my name I changed around. Like DeBase is not my last name. Come on, man. I got that as a nickname. So I'm walking with her. I think we're going to the movie theater. There used to be a movie theater right on Broadway in 84th, and we run into like a crew. When we were getting close down to where the movie theater was, about like 5 or 6 heads, I think I want to say, and it was just me and her. And you randomly passing people in New York, like you gonna pass by crews or you're gonna pass by people. And one of the dudes, I'm like, damn, I know this cat. Like I've seen this guy before. Where do I know this dude from? And like when it was in like a split second like that, like he passed by me, like we had eye contact, we looked at each other, kind of maybe even gave the nod. I don't remember really well, but I know I did lock eyes with him, so I'm like I recognize him. That's maybe why he's looking at me. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's why he probably
figured you familiar.
Exactly.
All right.
Or maybe not. Maybe he's not. Just like he recognizes me.
Grilling like
fucking Pac. This guy's gonna have you sizing me up. I didn't even realize. So
actually, I remember you telling this story, but go ahead. He walked around the block. Like he's walking down the block. Yeah.
So my cousin is screaming her head off. And I don't get it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, you know who that was? And when she said that, I realized it was him.
Yeah.
That's what brought it full circle. I'm like, that was Tupac.
He wasn't the hottest rapper on the planet at that time, so that's why he wasn't so noticeable. But
you know what? I don't know Pac for music.
He had that New York clout.
I knew Pac
Baltimore
at that time from acting, from Juice.
Juice, yeah, for sure.
Juice. That was the biggest movie to that time.
What he did is he waited to when he put Juice out and he dropped his first album at the same time. But Tupacalypse Now at the time he released it went gold. It was almost platinum.
So I'm gonna put it into perspective for you. When did he get shot? 95?
The first time or the second?
The first time.
95.
1995. It must have been 1994.
The year before. Oh, he was still a big name at that time. He was platinum artist at that time.
Yeah,
but that's what everybody loves about.
Came out.
That's what everybody loves about Pac, because he'll tell you how big his name is. He gonna be in the dirtiest hood, in the dirtiest house party, and people just pop off and go crazy when they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm standing next to Pac right now at this party!" Like,
I mean, by
so
no
real,
means
bro.
Was it,
so
by no
real.
means was it the hood. It was just the street. It was New York.
Well, I'm not saying you, but an example, like, that's actually stories of I've heard him say or other people say, like,
that's like the Upper West Side. You know, it was a nice area, kind of. You know, it was like 80th Street, 84th. There was like a Lowe's theater there. It turned into Sony afterward, I think. And we used to always go there. So I think that's where we were going, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, she was one of my close cousins. She was like a year older than me.
That's pretty dope, though.
Wait, hold on. This was 95.
So this was but hold on.
No.
Yeah. No, he was shot in. My mistake, actually. He might have been shot in 94 because I know he spent 11 months in prison. He was shot in 95. No. He was shot in 95 because I remember the next day after he was shot was his sentencing for that
exactly.
Abuse, sexual abuse, or sexual misconduct charge. Yeah. So it was, and then he did 11 months, got out.
Listen, it had to be the summer of 95, something like that. You know, summer of 95. Because I'll tell you the story. So what happened was, in the story, this is why I'm telling you, everything is just a series of coincidences.
My boy met Pac, like, in real life.
No, so
I mean, you've seen him.
Listen,
you've seen him.
Listen,
like,
Joe, I
still remember that.
Listen, I wish I could have met him.
This is what happened. That's one of your biggest regrets, probably, like
happened.
not knowing who that was at the right time.
When my cousin starts screaming her head off, I tell her that's Tupac, isn't it? That's Pac, isn't it?
Yeah, like.
And she's like, yes. So this is like maybe like a split. I don't know. It relatively speaking, it was like a split second to me. But I'm telling her, hey, listen, hey, that was Pac, was it not? Like, she's screaming her head off, yes. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get his autograph. So she's like, all right, you know, I'm gonna go tap him and get his autograph. She's like, no worries. So I start running in the uptown direction. We were going downtown. I start running in the uptown direction. I go up like 6 blocks. I'm like, yo, I can't find this guy.
Where the fuck this dude go? He probably went in the crib or some shit.
I think he went around the block because she said he pulled up in a car.
I was gonna say, was he with an entourage?
He was with a small entourage.
Yeah.
It wasn't
5,
that
6
big.
people, yeah.
It had to be like 4 or 5, maybe 6 people. And she said that he pulled up in a car.
Because I think he was with Thug Life at that time, at least. So he probably was with, some people.
Listen. He pulled up in the car next to her. Kick game. She told him she was underage. She told him she was like, he asked her how old she was. She said 16 or 17. So listen, she was a year older than me. So at the time, it was like the summer. It had to be, she was probably around 16. If it was 1995, because I was 15. Another chapter in my book, I talk about how my age is right there with every year. So in 95, I was 15. In 96, I was 16, so on and so forth.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
He says she's too young and leaves. I guess she gets his autograph.
Big props to him.
Listen. I guess she gets his autograph.
Big props to him because 6ix9ine ain't say that shit.
That's how I know that he didn't rape that girl.
Yeah, because he had morals. Like,
he had morals.
Like,
anybody else would have been like, give me your phone number and I'm going to either smash or I'm going to wait till you're 18.
Yeah.
I heard stories of rappers doing that. You know what I'm saying?
I had a younger chick at a party, like, literally trying to come on to me. And I'm like,
Listen, in 95, I was 15.
Oh, you'll be 18 in 3 months? Maybe when I see you then.
In 95, I was 15. She was definitely 16. You know? And
it's a good dude right there. Because people with celebrity status like that,
you know
like,
what?
They don't give a fuck, bro.
I'm lying. She may have been 17 because her birthday's in May. She's a year ahead of me, but my birthday's not till the end of the year, till November. So in 95, I turned 16 at the end of the year. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
So she was 17. So she was even closer to 18. You know what I'm saying? And he still was like, nah, I can't get your phone number, but I guess he gave her the autograph, right? So check it out. Joe, this is how I know she was in line. Because my cousin, unfortunately, had a reputation that she would spin stories sometimes. So, you know, until she could corroborate it, we wouldn't really
believe her.
Believe it.
She had to show
you know,
proof. She had to show proof.
Exactly. She wasn't always lying, but sometimes it was like the tail.
She
was
lied enough
taller.
that she had to show us proof.
Facts.
Yeah, I feel you.
So doesn't she pull out two? She pulls out 2 pieces of paper bag, and it was like maybe about this size. Here, you see this? It was about this size, and it was cut perfectly. And in mine,
that's basically 3 by 3 inches.
Yeah, like it was about 3, maybe 5 by 5, maybe a little bit bigger, but you know, it was perfectly cut. I don't know if they used scissors. It looked perfect. I don't know how they did that shit, but it looked like a fucking scroll. And it said,
like, yo, he's riding around.
Hieroglyphics
the prophet
shit.
Pac riding around signing scrolls and shit.
You know how I know she wasn't lying, Joe?
He was prophetic. I wouldn't doubt it, bro.
It said, the autograph said, "Peace, Fernando. Be strong, Tupac," with a big 2.
She had him sign it for
Pac.
you too?
Yes.
Nice.
She got one for her.
But where it's at though?
Man, fuck if I know.
You
want to hear worse? You want to hear worse?
That's something that's been in my wallet until I died.
You
like,
know
yo,
what?
that shit's going where I go. I'm not losing this.
You want to hear worse? I had stuff from 9/11 that I lost. I had gloves.
Listen.
I had a pair of gloves they gave me, pair of work gloves. They gave me a helmet, and they gave me a gas mask.
The closest I'm gonna ever be to Pac is Flamingo and Koval, where he died. Which it's a site in Vegas, a couple streets in Vegas. I plan on visiting soon, but
you know what?
It's on the bucket list.
I never went.
It's on the bucket list, bro.
Damn.
I gotta pour one out and burn one in that
there.
spot. I gotta pour one out and burn one in that spot.
I don't want to go there
for the homie.
I went to Vegas and I didn't go.
We did an episode on Machiavelli, Tupac. We did an episode on him, which went like over 2 hours, but it didn't give us enough time to, you know, that dude. You can write a movie. You can write, you know, a lifetime story on just 1 hour out of his life, like one thing that he went through. Yeah. So one situation, but
he has heavy influence in
sure.
a lot of what I did growing up.
We got to do a second podcast on that.
I'm not gonna even lie. There was a time where I hated him. You know what I'm saying? And I wrote that in the book too, because he was a New York cat to me. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't a rapper. He was a New York. He was an actor. Because I didn't know him from Digital Underground like that.
But yeah, I was gonna say he was in music before acting though.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know him from Digital Underground like that.
Bro, they built us when he lived in Marion County when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And they built a stage in his front yard, and he used to perform like talent shows for the neighbors and shit. Like him and his lyrics were dope. Like he was super political. Like he wrote about how Lady Liberty lied to me. She promised me equality, and then like he was super political, and his shit was on point. Like
Black Panther.
His mom, you're right. Like 100%. It was nothing but knowledge, full of knowledge, like wisdom. So, that's your main goal to achieve in life is knowledge and wisdom. If you don't do nothing, the only thing you can do every day is learn. You can never stop learning.
It's crazy how can you get Pac's autograph and not even meet him? So the story is bittersweet to me because I didn't get to meet him. But I did lock eyes with him, and it was just a weird coincidence. And like I said, everything is coincidences.
That's a photographic memory that you'll see forever, huh?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how did this? I mean, the book is My 9/11. How did this story get introduced to the book? Like, how did you bring it into it? How did you smooth it in with the rest of the book?
That's a good question. That is in a chapter that I have. What is the name of the chapter? I can't recall right now. It's not It Was All a Dream, because I got a nod to Biggie as well, because Biggie was the big homie at the time as well. You know, and it's funny because they rivaled each other. I rolled with Biggie more than I did Pac at the time. I'm not gonna.
Because you was a New Jersey dude.
Yeah, New Jersey.
You was on that side, man, you know.
Man, you know New Jersey, New York, and
all that.
And then, you know, Pac was throwing shots at the East Coast. So I'm like, how you gonna front? Like, you been here. Like, this is where I seen you. This is where you.
I mean,
you know,
he was throwing shots.
York,
he was
basically
throwing shots at rappers that he had beef from New York, but he never said fuck New York or fuck the East Side. Never really said it in that type of derogatory way.
But he did say, you know,
because
I
heard
the
him
West Side, and you know, definitely is the best side.
Yeah, you know, he's beefing with the East Side, but I've heard him in, you know, and then he also said, they say I hate New York, but that's funny. I got a lot of love for getting money. You know, like he loved New York. That was his home. He was MC New York before he was anybody.
But listen, before
I feel you as that perspective coming from. I grew up on this. Biggie's my dude. You left us, and
listen,
I can see how you took Biggie's side.
We come from an era where we got our news from magazines and from newspapers, and maybe if something came on Yo MTV Raps or something like that, if you got to even catch an episode, if you had cable,
we was watching The Box.
If you had, me too, yo, that's love. The Box. I never. And at the time,
most of the time, they only showed like 3 or 4 videos and just repeated them all day. They ain't have enough for that.
That's the first time I seen Wu-Tang. I'm not gonna lie,
bro. That's the first time I seen a lot of people like. Shit, I can't even remember.
Protect your neck. I seen.
Was Dear Mama on there?
For days. Yeah, definitely. Tupac. Yeah, that was my shit, man.
The Box, bro. That was crazy.
You know, we still didn't realize why all his videos were West Coast, you know? Because Brenda Got a Baby, Dear Mama, Keep Your Head Up.
Because he lived in the West Coast before that. Because he lived over there before that.
But listen, once again, we're coming from an era where we only know as much as we told. So I thought he was a New York cat.
Look at the whole Me Against the World album cover. That album art is not West Coast. That's New York shit. He's on a building and he's chilling on top of a building with the staircase.
Strictly for my niggas.
But yeah, well, Me Against the World, some of the art cover on the inside, well, it's actually just him photo shoots, like different, looking like a white boy, like a fucking pop singer, like.
Yeah.
The industry got him on that one. He was like listening to designers or his dressers, like, yeah, just wear this, and they had him look like a fucking prep white boy.
Strictly for my niggas, I think he had Keep Your Head Up on that, and so that album was the shit. Like we fucked with Pac heavy, and you know, it's just like, I Get Around. I think was on that too. Matter of fact, because I used to fuck with him heavy on that shit. And, you know, we used to fuck with him, but then when he started dissing, kind of, I felt a type of ways. But then he passed away, and then, you know, the rest is history. All that information leaked on what happened on him, on Biggie.
I felt like my whole thing.
You can even go as far as saying as Suge hit Biggie up and Diddy hit up, or Diddy and Biggie hit up Pac.
All right. So me, I was kind of biased. Because like I was saying earlier, my father was a big Tupac fan. He's originally from Texas, but my father was a big Pac fan. So already that I was exposed to that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just, you know, the music. The dude he was a poet. He was an artist. He was dark. He was bright. To have all those elements in one thing and be able to express them all is just, it's ridiculous, especially in the artistically manner that he expressed them.
Nah, people know that you can't fuck around with Pac.
To me, I rode with Pac. I rode with Pac, and I didn't fuck with Biggie. But like, you know, once I got a little older, and you know, to me, I had the same idea now. Is lyrically, if you want to judge lyrically, Biggie had a better flow pattern style. You know, he could put the words together and just keep it going. And to me, Pac was a better writer. Clearly, Biggie was a better freestyler, for sure. But, you know, Pac he had a style couldn't nobody touch. He had a style couldn't nobody touch. He had a work ethic that nobody could touch. And, I mean.
He was crazy, bro.
The dude put out like 7 platinum albums after he died. Like, who works that much? Who has that much material recorded? You think if Jay-Z died today, he have enough albums for 7 and they go platinum?
And
like, come on.
Hella movies as well. Had so many movies.
He was in 7 movies before he died. 2 came out after he died with him in there. You not counting the Resurrection documentary and all that.
You can't put that into perspective. Like,
yeah, the dude was on his own level. You know, if he wouldn't have died, you wouldn't have seen Denzel in Training Day. It would have been Pac.
Most likely.
Baby Boy was written for Pac.
He was supposed to be
in How to Be a Player, Menace to Society, beat up the directors.
He beat up the directors, yeah, because they got Lorenz Tate to play Old Dog. He was supposed to play Old Dog.
Well, nah, that was like, yeah, but that's not what really happened. What really happened is Pac was playing Hafreed, or what the Islam dude, the Islam black dude. He was playing that dude. But they wasn't giving Pac a backstory on why this dude became Islamic or turned to Allah or whatever you want to call it. So Pac kept this was other actors that were there. Like even in reading, like reading over the script, either reading together, they were saying Pac was bitching about this. Like, well, I'm just gonna be a Muslim. Where's my backstory on how I became a Muslim? Like he wanted some kind of depth to his character because that's like just the person he is in real life. Yeah. And they were supposedly the director like pulled him to the side and they're like, oh, like, stop acting like a little bitch or some shit. And then like he snapped. Like, I don't know if he snapped or went off, but I don't know if he came back or matter of fact, he didn't do nothing then. I think director played it off like, oh, it seems like you're having a bad day. Go take the day off. We'll finish tomorrow or something. But once Pac left, they ended up firing him after he left.
So they played him. Yeah.
And then Pac found them in public, and you can look up stories of the Hughes brothers, right? Hughes brothers. Look up the story on how Pac and their homeboys drugged these dudes. They caught them somewhere like at a drive-through restaurant, like some popular hangout spot back in the day. And his homeboys were like, the Hughes brothers had homeboys. They were like at the top of the hill, and they're like, by the time we got there, he was being drugged that way. Like, bro, they Pac had like 15 dudes, maybe more, and they just destroyed these dudes, bro.
You never heard the story where he went back into where they was rioting just to go wild out? He went back for the LA riots, like just to go and
fuck some shit
window, up. Do some wild shit. Like, my dude, crazy.
My dude shot 2 cops.
Yeah, man.
And got away with it.
And got away. Yo, that's
he got booked.
Legend.
He got booked. He bailed out. And then the charges were dropped because the cops, they had alcohol in their blood level. They were off duty. And then the guns that they had were stolen from their evidence room. So all charges were dropped. He shot 2 cops in the ass and got away with it. Bro,
and you don't feel he undefeated.
You see fucking Migos about to shoot a cop, or any of your favorite rapper right now gonna shoot a cop? He was motivated.
Nothing to lose tattooed around his gun wounds. Damn, Pac is a legend. Just in like his own, like just story of what he's done. Not only who he was before that, because you can be the son of a Black Panther that was born in jail, right? Like, wasn't he born in jail or some shit?
Actually,
wasn't Afeni pregnant when she was
the whole time she was pregnant, she was in jail defending herself, facing over 300 years for domestic terrorist conspiracy to blow up government buildings. She defended herself. Yeah, she defended herself, got all charges dropped, and then a month later, Tupac was born. So, not only a month later was Tupac born, but she had, previous to that, she had 2 miscarriages. So she didn't even think she could have kids. And for her to be pregnant and for Tupac to grow in her womb while she's in prison eating all that bullshit food, because they don't give you no nutrition or no like protein like you really need. They give you just enough to survive. And she was growing a child. So
they give you stuff to form your stomach to where you go to the bathroom less.
Yeah.
And you can look that up.
That shit's crazy.
They
private prisons
like weaponize you like
private prisons are crazy.
It's bananas.
Yeah, we're definitely doing
it's like a Weapon X shit.
We're doing an episode on private prisons for sure.
But you do the crime. You do the crime.
Yeah. So how, like you were saying, how exactly did you get that Pac story into the rest of your story? Like, how did it fit in there? Was it like a flashback? Like,
so no, you know what?
Thank
you for asking that question again. I'm glad you brought that back around because
now we just got off. But
I remember the chapter. The name of the chapter is my date of birth, and that's what I was explaining. That every year, from I was born on the last day. Basically, the next to last day to the next to last month of the 80s. You feel me?
Gotcha.
Excuse me, of the 70s. Excuse me, before the 80s. So I was born November 29th, 1979. That's the next to last day. There's 30 days in November. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And the next to last month, November, is right before December.
Following you.
Of the 70s. Mm-hmm. It was 79. Mm-hmm. I was born 1 month later, it was the 80s. So from 1980 basically my age coincides with every year. So 81 I was 1, 82 I was 2, 80. You keep going to 1995, which I believe is when we're talking about that Tupac story. I was 15 years old. And like I told you, if I was 15, I turned 15 in November 1995. So in 1995, my cousin is a year older. She would have been already 16.
So that's how
she turned 17 in May.
So you formatted
it.
Summer. You formatted it on your lifespan,
that
basically,
chapter,
like your life timeline, basically.
Yeah, because I tell stories of what happened.
But through your life, your life timeline, like, so you through your life, you tell stories in the book about what happened, and then he fell into that middle story leading up to 9/11.
Exactly, because
okay,
what I mean
I got you.
What I mean is, I grew up in all of this. You know what I'm saying? So, for example,
you gotta take in everything to get a good perspective of what you're trying to say. So you you explain everything.
I explain everything for every year. I got a couple of stories, and well, not every year, but I got a couple of stories, and I match it to the year.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to 9/11, that was 2001. I was 21 years old. I was an adult. I was a man. I was 21. 2001, man.
For sure. Yeah, I wasn't. I was a kid. I was a kid in school.
I'm lying. I was about to turn 21. I was 20 years old because it was September. So it's all about like perspective for me, because growing up and seeing these things happen, and then I'm only 20 years old, 21 years old, and the Twin Towers are falling down. What do you want me to think? Like, my life wasn't even correct at the time. Like, I got a story that I went to jail. That's how I wound up going to Ground Zero, just because I went to jail. At least you were able I went to jail and went to Ground Zero.
At least you were able to get there and help out, though.
Nah, sure. I don't consider myself as helping out. I consider myself as just getting that experience.
I mean, if you were part of the cleanup crew or the search crew or anything, you were helping out.
That's a touchy subject. I don't feel like I did anything. I didn't do anything.
I mean, you didn't do anything because you're not gonna save nobody. Like you're not there to save nobody. But if you are putting in some kind of work and you help, then you contributed. You know, that's what matters, though. I wasn't there. I didn't contribute.
Nah, it's anybody would have gone. I mean, I don't know. I
mean, yeah, I feel you. If it happened here where I'm at, I would have definitely been there helping too. So,
I don't want nobody to feel some type of way when I say this, but I kind of went with bad intentions. I kind of went with kind of looting in mind, kind of, like, hey, maybe I'll find something cool. And then when you're there, you're like, yo, you kind of get like that.
Got you.
Why was
I
thinking? Why was I thinking this? Joe, like, listen, it was mayhem, man. It was basically mayhem. It looked like you walking through kind of like hell, bro. Kind of like hell.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
I couldn't even imagine going through it. I know if some shit does happen though, like a huge war, World War III, whatever. I know. We have an Air Force base close to us that we gotta be careful, because that's one of the top Air Force bases in the country, and it will be taken care of. It will be a target if something does happen.
Don't even bring that up.
But that's what these bankers want eventually. Another war, a world war. They don't want it to be too much damage where it will hurt the earth, but they want.
Don't talk that into fruition, because that would be the most terrible thing.
They already have it written. No, they already have it written out.
That's the most terrible thing.
Listen, they financed the first French Revolution. They financed every war.
Look, it's so bad that when I say it was walking through there was like the pits of hell. Like, you ever seen kind of like
it's all ashy.
You ever seen kind of like movies like, well, actually, have you ever seen Schindler's List?
Some of it.
You seen?
I didn't watch the whole movie.
It's a lot of weird scenes, or maybe like another war movie.
It's an old one.
Like maybe a war movie somewhere. You know, like that you see like kind of a lot of rubble and debris. It was like that, but even getting there, you're going through like different rooms, kind of like chambers of hell, bro. Because listen, I've seen things that. You're like, man, you start realizing that it really happened, You start realizing
that part.
Not only did it really happen, but you start realizing like this shit is about to get serious where I'm going to, just to even help. because they don't let people beyond the barrier. You had to go with credentials down there. It's not like you could show up and, Joe, B, and go and fucking, think that you were gonna be able to help.
Yeah.
Joe B's not gonna be able to help.
That shit was blocked.
Nobody's
blocked
gonna
off.
be able to help. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be there with credentials. You gotta be there with somebody that's law enforcement or that's with
It's crazy that now that you say that they wasn't really letting people get close like the average person unless you had credentials.
Hell no.
All right, so
hell no.
that can further motivate a conspiracy because
no way. It would have been looting possibly.
No, I mean as far as them trying to cover something up because they wasn't letting anybody close. Were you close enough to see the pillars? They were saying the pillars looked like they were sliced, like at a slant, like they didn't just crumble. Like some of them looked like they were sliced, like the metal beams that held up the building were like sliced. Like,
yeah, what happened was that it looked like beams coming up out of the ground and they were melted kind of at the top because I asked what that was. Somebody
jet fuel.
There were real heroes there. There were real people.
Sure.
There were real heroes on the ground, like firefighters, law enforcement. I spoke to somebody that was next to me. It was a black dude. He was super cool. Asked me how I wound up getting there. I
was gonna come steal some shit, but I decided not to. Now I'm here helping you, motherfuckers.
Listen.
But I wouldn't have told him that either. But
that's the worst feeling. I felt so ashamed for even thinking that. You know what I'm saying?
No, you good, bro. We all young.
I felt ashamed, because man.
Long as you know you felt bad. Long as you know you felt bad.
This is why I felt bad. Listen. I was next to a dude that had been there already helping out. He knew things. He told me every question that I asked him, he would answer it. So I'm like, that told me that he had already been out there helping for real.
Gotcha.
And like I told you, it was like a chain gang kind of. I don't know how exactly. Oh, you know what? I got the term in the book. It's called the Bucket Brigade. I looked it up. I'm telling you, I did research. It's called the Bucket Brigade.
Gotcha.
It was like a long line of people, maybe about, I want to say like 30 people. And we
was all passing buckets?
Passing buckets like from like Home Depot, the 5-gallon big buckets. Rocks. It was just rocks in there.
Just moving the boulders
out. They were still hot. It was 5 days later. And at the beginning of the line, you could see that they were taking pictures. So there was possible like they were finding stuff.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I'm not thinking one of those planes hold that much jet fuel to melt all that shit, though.
So listen. I mean, the thing that you're asking about, those pieces of the building,
metal,
the metal, that was pieces of metal that melted outwardly from the building. Mm-hmm. If you see the building crumbling, you see it's crumbling downward. The metal that's falling from the sides of the building. So you've
seen the metal structure of the building melting. You've seen it melted.
Yes, it was pieces of the building that looked like broken off, like because that would like a big etch-a-sketch type shit. Like, I mean, not an etch-a-sketch, but like a big
that would be consistent with a story of a plane hitting it and it melting. So that's why I was asking, because it's
yeah, melting and then imploding, and then all that is hot. Like when it's imploding, it's.
I'm still having
the beams are coming off and they're just going into the ground.
I'm still having
like that into the ground.
But I'm still having issues.
That was all over. That was all around in the one section where I know that it was one of the buildings, and that's the section that.
So it wasn't the base of the building. It was a piece of a building that fell. Like it was. You were working on the piece that fell. It might have been way up there and it fell, or you were working from the base, or
where we had the Bucket Brigade. It was into one of the buildings.
Into one
of the buildings. Okay, so
damn, I don't know.
Listen.
You think those planes had extra fuel just for that occasion? Because that's not enough. They don't carry enough fuel to do that.
I'm gonna tell you what.
And the way you're saying it, it sounds like the fuel came down through the whole building, just melting shit as it like dripped down almost.
Nah, not like that. It wasn't like that. It was more destruction, like on top of each other. Boom.
I mean, that's
boom.
what caused it. The jet hits it, and supposedly the jet fuel melts the metal to an extent that it collapses, it ends up collapsing.
But if it hits it at a certain angle, and if
but you're saying you're seeing melted shit though, melted debris. Like
no, it was pieces of steel.
The metal, the steel was melted.
It was more steel that was broken off. You could say like
it wasn't. There wasn't too much melted though.
No, it wasn't like it melted. It was more like it broke off. Like
it crumbled. It crumbled down. Like it broke in pieces off.
Like kind of like I said, like if you
bent?
take like
bent.
What's those sets that is like a little metal set, like a erectus set? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Back in the day that you could build like Lego.
Yeah.
If you take that and kind of like, not if you really set it on fire, but if it's big enough, it starts breaking. And, you know, and pieces of metal would just come off. If it's imploding on each other, because it's a lot of cement. That cement all also caused that. You know, it wasn't like anything was on fire to me. It didn't look like it was on fire. It looked like it was just hit with a wrecking ball, my brother.
Boom, and it just crumbled down. Like.
Listen, we walked in. When we parked, we drove into a cloud.
I mean, you said 5 days later though.
5 days later.
So they probably were wrecking shit down maybe at that time. I don't know.
Listen, 5 days later,
like chopping the.
You do the math on what your opinion is. 5 days later, we drove into a cloud.
Gotcha.
You know, you can see it coming from far.
Gotcha.
We parked the car. We walked about 3 blocks possibly, and we got to a place where they were checking our credentials. So only few limited people can go through. Nobody was really out there to really go. It was just myself and the person that I went there with. They let us both in because he was law enforcement. I guess he had been there helping as well. So he knew it was just me and him walking through the streets by ourselves. Nobody else was out there. We walked a couple of blocks. It was empty. And we went down one block that had like a lot of restaurants. It looked like it was like a busy block. And I saw the restaurants under dust. There was like clouds of dust in the windows. Mm-hmm. And people were writing messages like on that dust.
Whoa.
You know, like, hey,
whoa.
Hey, are you alive? Hey, have you
seen
this person?
Help. Yo, that's nuts.
Yes.
I couldn't even imagine seeing that shit.
And it was very quiet, so you can tell if it was gloomy, you know, it was very quiet. And you know it's not safe. We got to a point where there was like another like a checkpoint, and they gave us the equipment. So we got helmets, gloves, and a gas mask.
Whoa.
I kind of got nervous there because I'm like, if they gave me a helmet,
gas mask?
they gave me a helmet and a gas mask, some shit
could
come
fall,
down,
or I could breathe.
I could fucking breathe.
Word,
some shit.
word.
Like, oh shit!
Word.
I'm like, this
Start
is real.
Like, wait, maybe I should have stuck the fucking looting and shit.
I'm not even worried about looting at this point. Now it's my life. Now it's like I'm worried about my life. Like, what am I doing? Did I just sign up, like,
Word.
to battle the Taliban right now?
That's hilarious.
So, you know, we walk a little bit more, and we pass by. It's a dark place, and it was just rubble.
I've been to a few of those. So.
It was it was rubble. It was just rubble. You could see it was dark. It was dark, like in a hill. Like
don't ever ask me about my dark places either.
It looked like a big fucking junkyard at night with just metal. And there was like only 2 people out there, and it was 2 firefighters, and they were cutting metal like
that's
on
crazy,
a big
bro.
ass piece. They were cutting just the metal, and you could just see them with the sparks like that in the distance. You know what I'm saying? It's a little crazy. It looked like a movie. It was just them 2. I don't remember seeing anybody else. And they had like a big. I looked it up. It's called a miter saw, and it was like circular, and it was huge. And they were cutting like a big piece of metal.
It was like a blade, or
like that was a big blade, like a big
cutting metal. It might have been diamond bit blade, or probably right.
Possible.
That's crazy.
A big miter saw.
They probably had to change it out a lot, metal on metal, or
they would definitely. At that point, I don't think they were looking for survivors. I think
they were
looking back. That was one of the buildings.
Looking
back, that was one of the buildings.
That's bro.
That's one of the big buildings. That's one of the big buildings.
What happened that day is intense. If you look it up, you can see there's footage of people jumping, falling that they don't want to, you know.
So then we kept walking. We kept walking and we got into like a big square by ourselves. There was really nobody else around. It was like open, in between like several buildings where we could see other buildings. We could see other buildings that were still up, and like a bridge kind of. There was like a bridge in between. I don't know if maybe it was broken or what, but
the bridge?
I remember seeing the bridge, but I remember seeing the buildings, and the buildings had holes in them, and they had there was holes in the building.
Like what kind of holes?
Like big, like it looked like stuff was colliding. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Like if the Twin Towers are falling
like it broke down, not like constructed holes, like perfect holes. Like I'm when you said holes, I'm imagining like holes,
like if they threw a big rock through a big building. You know what I'm saying? Huge like.
There was holes in it then. There was official
buildings.
Holes in it.
In different buildings.
What?
In small, there were smaller buildings around. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't
Are you talking about the towers?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, not.
I was gonna say, what if they like
not
weakened
the
the infrastructure so when it did get hit, there was a bunch of holes.
The towers were already down, my brother. Like the towers were already down.
This is after that.
Obviously,
right,
it's 5 days later. You know, both towers are down. You can't even tell if there were holes.
Oh no. I was saying with the structure that was left over, whether any.
No. Okay, so I'll get to what to what I mean. I'll get to what I'm saying. So we're walking, and you know, we just see the buildings with big holes in them. It looks insane. It looks like, you know, if the Twin Towers is falling, everything around it is gonna feel it, right? Mm-hmm. You're gonna feel what happened there. You're gonna feel like hey, this really was mayhem. This really was, you know, it was a building falling down, man. It was 2 buildings falling down. What are you trying to tell me? Oh, okay. All right.
But
so you can tell that there were big holes in the different structures that were still up. I don't know if those were smaller towers, like towers, whatever other towers. You know, 5.
Because how did 7 fall? It wasn't even hit.
I don't know. I can't recall if I saw.
And it
tower
fell
7 or
straight down like a demolition fall.
I can't tell. What I saw was
I mean, you probably couldn't, but I'm just. You don't have no input on why you think 7 fell. Like,
no, of course not. Of course, there's no way to tell. Like I said, it could have been that the building knocked it over. Like, you know, it was so close to one of the towers that it knocked it over. Because, like I said, whatever was still up,
I wish I had video
had
of
holes in it around
7 falling, so I could show you.
You know,
I don't.
We're looking around, and we got our mask on, we got the helmets on, and we're like, man, this looks bananas. So it was a big open space, and you know, when we kept walking through, we see everything else that's kind of messed up in the area, like more rubble, and then we see the big other building, which was rubble, and it had those pieces of metal sticking into the ground, like we spoke about, and it had like one thing was intact on top of all the rubble. Mm-hmm. And so it looked like we were working from the outside. It was a big bucket brigade, so it was kind of like a snake chain gang going into like a point into the rubble. Mm-hmm. And then kind of on top of where they were, kind of on top of that.
Hands all in my camera.
My bad.
You gotta keep them kind of not past here and like not past there.
My bad. Kind of on top of that rubble is where there was something still intact. So when I'm conversing with the dude that was working there next to us, he's telling us everything that's going on. He said that it was the top floor. I don't know of which building though. I don't remember, but it was the top floor upside down. And that was the only thing
over. Probably.
I don't know. It was the top floor upside down.
It had to fall over then, like, you know.
It was on top of everything, on top of the rubble where we were working on. So that was one of the towers, most likely. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yo, I'm telling you, man, it was like everything was hell. Like it was like the next level, and you get there and you're like, shit. man.
You go into detail about all that in your book too.
Yeah, I explained that. Because you have to explain what you saw and everything
sure.
that made an impression on you. You know, I passed a body bag and I'm not sure what it was. It felt like it was a torso to me that I passed by. You know?
Yeah. That's crazy.
I saw them taking pictures. Like I said, I don't know if they were taking pictures of bodies. I saw pieces of the plane inside a big. It was a big trash bin, like a big metal trash bin.
Yeah.
And they had pieces of the plane. It was open on the back, and it had like a wing. Like I said, it had a tire that I can tell, and maybe a couple other things. And on the side it said FBI evidence. It was spray painted. I saw like tents set up, which is where we got our gear. After we were done, we kind of like we're done with the bucket brigade. Like I said, we passed around hot rocks, and we would toss the bucket and send it back into the bucket brigade. The rocks were still hot. It was kind of an experience. You're working hand in hand with other people, and
still thinking about what happened every minute of the way. That's nuts.
He's explaining all that. By then I'm already like, man, this is bananas. Maybe I could come back and help, or who knows what can happen. When we were done, we went by another tent. They were giving us eye drops. We kept our gear.
Shit.
They gave us eye drops. We kept our gear, and there was a nurse, and the nurse was giving out hugs.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I was like, wow, okay, you're giving out hugs. It was just funny to me. And she was like, yeah, just to feel better. I was like, okay. And, it was just, something.
Ooh. Yeah, that's...
They had trucks, right? They had trucks where they had food. They had a McDonald's truck.
Free food.
A Mickey D's truck.
Free food, that's
McDonald's.
crazy.
They had Campbell's soup. I can't remember what else, but those are the only ones that I remember. And the food was free, bro. We got as much as we could, and we didn't even eat that shit.
Like, it was too much crazy shit. You couldn't eat at a time like that. Like, seeing what you're seeing, going through that shit. I can only imagine. I've been through, my little life traumas, but nothing like nationwide like that. Like that's a big deal. That changed the world like that.
It was crazy, man. It was something terrible, man.
But you see that book right there?
Yeah.
It's called Behold the Pale Horse. It's written by a guy named Bill Cooper. This guy predicted.
I heard that before.
This guy predicted 9/11. That's not why I had it there. I had it there because it's been there since the first time we started. Because I'm reading it, but this dude predicted 9/11 before it happened. He predicted it, I think, 2 or 3 months before it happened. He didn't predict planes are gonna hit a building per se, but what he did, what he does is he claims he tries to wake people up, and he was trying to bring enlightenment to the JFK assassination, and he has a lot of speeches about off-planetary activity, aliens, and other things like that. And he has the credentials, though. He was high up. He has high up rankings in the service and in the Army when he was there, and he had the top clearance, top secret clearance and shit
this
like
guy,
that. Yes, William Cooper. Yep. So
he had all that.
Yeah, he had all of that, and he turned. What did Edward Snowden do? He turned how you call it? Not a leaker, but
WikiLeaks.
No. You know who Edward Snowden is? The dude that released everybody who was spying on us.
Wasn't that WikiLeaks?
He turned. Damn, what did this dude?
He did. Like,
all right, so
they called him like that's treason. Basically.
Treason. They hit him with treason. They hit him with treason. Espionage. But what he did is he basically flipped the script on them. He left, and he was like started giving out all their information and doing lectures on their shit and making money off of it, whatever. But now this dude predicted 9/11 before it happened. He said something's gonna happen. The government's gonna blame this on Bin Laden or whoever it was. He's like, it's gonna happen. They've been planning it. Something big's gonna happen. We're gonna go to war with them. Like, he basically broke it down and said everything that happened without saying planes are gonna hit the towers, because he didn't know how they were gonna do it. but he was saying it was going to happen, right? So 9/11 happens. Boom. You know what else happens on that day? A warrant is issued for his arrest on that day.
On for this cat?
William Cooper.
No shit.
A warrant is arrested for like back taxes, like not paying taxes. Like, come on, bro, really?
Wow shit.
Right. All right, so you know how this guy dies? He's shot by police at his house.
Whoa.
Like 2 months later, when they're serving the warrant, like 12:30 at midnight, 12:30 at night, like they're serving the warrant, he's shot by the police. But I think he shot one. I don't know if he killed one or not, but he shot one too. But he's killed by police. The warrant is issued on 9/11. The dude predicted 9/11. Behold the Pale Horse. He talks about.
I've heard that before.
He talks about seeing evidence of extraterrestrial life. Like I've seen firsthand pictures, firsthand account. Like this dude was telling all, and he was. I mean, it just adds up to it that he's ended up killed by police.
It's bananas. It's bananas. There's so much. But, there's so many stories out there.
He predicted 9/11 for sure.
I gotta read up on that because
if you ever want to borrow that book, it's there for you to borrow too. But even if you want to, you can look it up on YouTube. Behold the Pale Horse, William Cooper, and there's audio of it. You can just listen to it and they'll read it to you.
I'm gonna have to borrow it because
yes, for sure.
Anytime I could read up on something like this that affected me firsthand is interesting to me because, like, for example, when I said everyone has their own story about 9/11, it's true because everyone it kind of froze time, because it's such a big event, and then just being there and being able to share my story, I'm like, it's amazing. It's listen to this coincidence. And maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's in the collective consciousness.
Exactly.
Somehow, maybe.
See, I got it in there. I got it in there. Have you heard of that? Have you heard of that term before tonight?
I'm not positive.
Thank you. I got him in there, but it makes sense. That's the only reason why you said it, right? Like it's not like, but also, I think Tesla, which I'm gonna do an episode on. I believe he had a couple quotes about collective consciousness, and he believed his brain and his body was a receiver and a transmitter, and that there was an ultimate intelligent source out there that we can tap into, because we have so many like cells and so many that we're like that's unused and that we're not using right now, that they were saying are like pathways for like highways of information, and we just can't tap into it somehow. Or maybe we have to. Maybe we were at a higher subconscious before and we got into it. But, yeah, they were just, when it comes down to it, and you really think about it, collective consciousness is, it's a real thing. Hitler was testing it. They were like hurting one twin to see if the other twin felt it type. That's how diabolical they was getting with it. And so it's been researched in many type of ways, but I'm glad I got that turned over to you and your
yeah.
You know what else I like to tell people about that some people don't really know about. You see that picture right there, that painting, and the one over here,
the solar system.
Yeah, and that one.
Yeah.
The producer, he did those with spray paint. So, but it's crazy because collective consciousness. Sorry, I'm a little
yeah.
But
pretty dope. They're pretty dope though.
Yeah, he did those. Excuse me. He did those with spray paint. But the collective consciousness is something that's been put to test. It's been proven, and you can tell when you live in Florida and you feel affected by 9/11 in any kind of way. You know, like that has nothing to do with you. I mean, as a nation, maybe, but as a 13, 12-year-old kid, not really. But you still feel something. Like
it became one of the biggest things in the world, man.
That's why anybody would understand why
it was one of the biggest things in the world ever, and there'd be stories about it for days. There'd be story about it for forever.
For sure.
And I wanted to share mine. I wanted to, put that out there, and it was something that I had to get out there.
Did you feel after you wrote it, you had it published? Did you feel you were 100% good with the finished product before you felt like you got what you were trying to say out? Your message.
I feel like I did, yeah, and I have, but
is this your first one or?
Yeah.
All right, so first. I mean, it's your first book.
Yeah, but as
there's always people grow
as a artist or author, whatever you could call it. You never feel satisfied with what you put out.
For sure.
You feel like you could always.
So the one you're working on now is definitely gonna be, it's gonna be improvement. You'll see improvement, like. From the first one.
I appreciate that. Put that into my collective consciousness so that I could, reciprocate and.
You keep saying collective consciousness, and I lost my train of thought earlier. Now you remember. Now you reminded me when you said it this time of what I was trying to tell you. Listen.
You know the law of attraction. The law of attraction.
Yeah.
You just will it into existence, and that's what we're gonna do.
I believe that's true. I believe certain things you can will into existence. Yeah. I believe in like the seed blow effect. I'm gonna do a podcast about that, the power of the mind, and 1/3. This is a proven fact. 1/3 of all healing done in the world. 1/3 of all healing done in the world is done by the power of the mind, because they believe they're going to heal. They do. That's 1/3 of all healing in the world. So y'all look that up. Y'all research that. And if I'm lying, y'all can email me or message me and let me know. But we're doing an episode on that. So this is something else I was trying to say earlier. I like to bring this up because a lot of people don't know this, and I like to see if people know this. So you've seen the symbol for NASA.
Yeah.
Right? And you've seen. You know what the symbol is? It's I'm gonna look it up for you and show you really quick.
Like the letters and I don't know, like some lines that go up and down.
Yeah, the lines. So you already know about the lines. Now, those lines are a serpent's tongue. That's a tongue, reptile, serpent, snake. You don't see it? How it splits like a snake?
Yeah.
No, all right. No, listen. That's a serpent's tongue. And what do serpents are in the Bible? They lie. They deceive, right? That's what serpents do in the Bible.
Yeah.
So, you know what NASA means in Hebrew? Nasha. Nasha in Hebrew. NASA is Nasha, and it means to deceive. And you can look that shit up. I want y'all to. And that's what NASA is in Hebrew, to deceive, Nasha.
So it's not real, like we never...
I don't know. I like to say we did go to the moon. How are we going to fake a mission to the moon?
We can't fake that shit.
I know we're in a space race with the Soviets. They would have been the first ones. They were monitoring us the whole way up there. They would have been the first ones to be like, y'all didn't fucking go there. They were probably in their space station watching us.
You know how big Russia is, bro? You know how big Russia is, bro?
I know.
Shit is crazy.
I know I did hear one theory that the space race and the moon landing was faked, and the space race was all fake to have Russia deplete all their fundings, like spend out all their money, like trying to compete in a space race and break them, like basically make them go broke. And I heard that was like, I'm like, I don't know how legit that story would be. Like, we're gonna bankrupt them. Just
how the fuck they gonna go bankrupt, man?
I say don't ever underestimate the accomplishment of men. We went to the moon. We've been to the moon. Certain telescopes, you can still see the flag we planted on the moon. You can beam lasers off mirrors that we have on the moon right now. And We on the dark. Listen, on the dark.
We're going to Mars right now.
Hey, Elon Musk. Hey, occupy Mars. That's the next. If we ain't already there, we going. And there's a face on Mars in the structure. You can look that shit up. There's pyramids on Mars. You can look that shit up. They hide this shit, but there's info out there. You can look this shit up. Mars used to be in the habitable zone, and there's also traces of radioactive elements on Mars, on the surface of Mars, that come. The only way we can reproduce those radioactive elements is with a nuclear bomb. So there's basically proof that nuclear bombs went off on the surface of Mars. It used to be habitable. There's ice there. There's water there running under the surface right now. Water is like the life stone, like the building block for life. So they're fucking lying to us. NASA lies. That's all they do.
That's crazy.
It's something to look into, right?
But
are you gonna look into it? Did I inspire you to look into it?
Nah, I'm gonna look into
because that's what
shit.
The show's about, to look into shit like that. You gotta see if I'm bullshitting or not.
Well, I mean,
and if you find out that I'm not bullshitting, you gotta look into why it's set up like that. You know,
obviously for the sake of entertaining you, of whether or not I follow the show.
But I wouldn't give you no false information either way, show or not.
Yeah. Facts.
So,
but what I'm trying to say is, for me, I appreciate that you even put stuff out. That
for sure.
Whether or not it makes you question,
shit, make you think twice, and yeah. We gotta have people like
I'm
that.
I'm here to
man.
tell you,
there's
for
not
whatever
enough.
you have
regarding
9/11, this is what I could corroborate to that story.
Yeah.
And I know
we're gonna do a podcast on the 9/11, and we're gonna get into a lot of the conspiracy side about it. But if we do, and you're available, we could probably have you back on to talk about that 9/11 episode. But it's gonna be more on the side of factual conspiracy. Yeah. So it's gonna be facts that make shit look like a conspiracy. So it's this episode, this show's about making people question things and think twice and analyze everything in detail. So we need to open that part of their brain to make them think like this, and that's what we're trying to do. So that's why we got to get into subjects like that and different aspects like that.
You don't know when you're being fed bullshit or not, but I know with that, a lot of people have their own thoughts.
That's why we always encourage people to do their own research and look it up. We always say we're like we're the 60-40. We'll give you 60% of the information, but we want you to research the other 40. And that's because we want you to get into that pattern of researching, questioning everything, and no matter what level it's on, whether it's a small one or a big level of whatever, just do it, question it.
What I could say is, what I saw with my own eyes, you can't fake. You can't say like, oh look, I saw a part and
No, for sure it happened.
Controlled demolition,
it definitely happened, guys.
It was this or it was that.
Nobody's questioning that. It definitely happened.
You could say it was controlled demolition, and hey, if you prove it, by all means. But
maybe even that aspect wasn't controlled. But what was controlled is higher ups, because they're running simulations that day, simulations of airplanes being hijacked, and then what happens? Some airplanes actually get hijacked, and they're already running simulations in certain airspaces. First of all, people, listen. We could have responded, and we could have shot all those jets out of the skies from missiles from land without even putting jets in the sky, and none of that happened. Like with
civilians on there.
With civilians on there, what they've done before with civilians.
Yo, it's crazy.
You're gonna let them take the chance and kill more civilians like they did?
From what the research that I did, because obviously I wasn't just gonna put information out there. I had to talk about what happened
Bush's
that
reaction
day.
in Florida when it happened.
The planes that hit were two different airlines. I'm not sure exactly what they were. I think it was like TWA or Delta, and like it was something. And I have that information in there. I just can't remember it. It's irrelevant to the story, kind of. But you have to put everything that happened that day. And when I put that information in, there was not only the 2 planes that crashed into the towers. There was the one that crashed into the Pentagon, and then there was another one that got hijacked that crashed in Pennsylvania.
United 92.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a United flight. And no,
and
actually, I think it
they
was
fought back. They fought
Delta
back.
and a United that
United
crashed
90
into,
United 92 crashed.
And a United,
United 92.
Pennsylvania.
They took over that flight.
And
they
then
fought
the
back.
other one was another Delta, the one that got flown into the Pentagon. And so that flight as well, we lost, had casualties, American lives that were lost in that plane. And you can say, hey, listen, that's just, that's less of a tragedy that it happening in New York, but why did it have to happen as well?
Sure.
That was going somewhere else,
Bankers, bro. Bankers.
That was going somewhere else. Them
Bankers
heroes,
love war and they control everything.
The heroes that were on that plane made it so that they didn't do any more.
I'm going to give you a piece of information to try to convince you. If not convince you, at the very least, make you go home and look it up and see if I'm right or if I'm bullshitting you or not. All right? But this is how I can prove to you. To me, it's proof that these bankers are behind all this shit, right? So before 9/11, there was a central bank. Before 9/11, there was a central bank in every country except for like 5 or 6. Now, right now, this day, you know how many countries don't have a central bank?
How many?
2. So it went from 6 to what? 2. And you know what those countries are?
What country?
Can you guess?
No.
If you had to think of one that wouldn't have a central bank, what do you think it would be?
That wouldn't have a central bank?
Yeah.
I'm
Cuba.
Okay.
North Korea.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Can you name 2 places America hasn't been?
Yes. Cuba and North Korea.
All right. Now, before 9/11, you know what else? Before 9/11, do you know what other countries were on that list with no central bank? With Cuba and North Korea, you know what other countries were on that list?
Other communist countries?
No. Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
Iraq. Iran. All those countries had no central bank before 9/11. We go to war with them, they have a central bank now. It's the bankers, bro. It's these Zionist fucking Jews. I'm not racist, but at the end of the day, they're Jewish people. They think they're fucking better than everybody because they do. You ain't never seen a poor Jewish person. Trust me. You name one Jewish person that been on the corner selling some shit. Name one Jewish person that ever did anything looking for money. You ain't never seen one.
Every Jew though. Every Jewish
ain't the same.
Person.
Ain't the same. That's
not
what
every
they're
Jewish
not.
Person,
they're not the same. I'm talking about the Zionists.
It just so happens that these families might be Jewish, is what you're saying.
I'm
right?
talking about these.
I don't agree with the thoughts of.
He don't have to. But at the end of the day, I'm talking about these Zionists.
My 9/11
listen to what I'm saying.
Listen
to what I'm saying. I'm talking about Zionist.
Yes.
Zionist Jewish people. Yes. And those are the bankers that run this world. Whether
you
want to, you don't have to know about it. I'm trying to enlighten you about it to let you go home and do some research about it. But at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's these Zionist Jewish. They run these banks, bro. They Rockefeller, Rothschilds. Look them all up.
I've heard stories.
I mean, stories. There's info out there if you look it up. These, you know what this family is worth? Like they're the richest family on this world that we know about. Their worth, their family value is at what, like 3 or 4 trillion.
I've heard stories. I've heard a lot of stories.
And they own the bank. They own the Federal Reserve that regulates the amount of money that we can borrow and put into circulation.
And it was the World Trade Center that got taken out. The World Trade Center. It's not the Twin Towers. It was the World Trade Center. There was the World Bank that operated underneath there. That's what
stock market, wasn't it? Wasn't that building stock market building, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, certain floors, but I know different floors were rented out for different things, right?
That's Wall Street, you know what I mean? That was downtown New York.
That was definitely the 90s. That was definitely 90. Those towers represented the 90s, like you're saying. Downtown busiest place
in the world.
That's crazy. They fucking dropped that shit.
It's bananas. my sister was working down there. My brother was supposed to go down there. It was a crazy day. All the Zionists
called off of work that day.
It was a crazy day for me, bro.
Telling you, man, it's bananas. Like, I couldn't imagine going through that. Like, I like experiences like that. Not like that. So don't take it the wrong way. I'm not saying like I like what had happened, but I like life trauma altering experiences for some reason. I don't know why. Not in no sick or demented way, but I feel like as a human or as a person or as a spirit, as an individual, it gives you growth in multiple ways, and you learn and you grow from every situation you go through.
Yeah.
And that's how you were able to write a book out of this, because you learn, you grew, you have perspective. So in a way,
so right, man. You absolutely hit it on the head. You nailed it.
And that's and
it's facts. It's true. It led me to where I am. Maybe a better man, a better father, a better husband, a better person.
Let me ask you something. Have you looted anything since that day? Like loot as the sense of
have I had the intentions of looting? I don't know, but have I looted something? I can't say that I remember
exactly. So
I don't think so.
So then you changed from that day right there. You changed from that day right there, from going through that. You went out there with the intentions of something else and did something better.
You know what?
Not too many people do that, man. Yeah. You know how many people were doing what you went out there to do and they did that?
I don't know. I hope.
I mean, I'm just saying. There's a lot. There was, but at the end of the day, you didn't. So it's about your story. You know, you didn't.
I'm gonna be honest.
That's what makes your book better, because you didn't.
I'm gonna be honest. You bringing it up, it strikes a chord, because I did feel kind of that growth when I was writing it, but more so, it was more about the people that were there, the other people that were there
involved. Yeah.
People that basically were there are sick. People that were there probably died from victims. You know, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know who was out there for how long. I was out there 5 days later for maybe 2-3 hours, and it was hell, bro. It was hell. I told you, walked into a big cloud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can't explain that to you. It's like, have you ever driven into fog? That's how it kind of felt.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a mist. You know,
I've been through fog that you couldn't see past the front of the car.
It happened to me the other day, man. I mean, Florida, big. Yo, not even in New York, in like upstate and
I was
in
like
Pennsylvania.
I was in New Mexico going over the mountain to Colorado, and the
not in Florida?
No, I wasn't even in Florida. I was in New Mexico. It was September. I was in New Mexico. I was going over the mountain to Colorado because my sister was in Colorado. My homeboy's in New Mexico. We evacuated Florida for a hurricane.
Yeah. Everybody did.
I mean, my job closed. I wasn't worried about the hurricane. I'm from Florida. We ride hurricanes out. But my job closed, and I was like, I'm gonna travel if I got a few days off. Drove to New Mexico.
I'm not from Florida, so y'all can't come with that hurricane shit. I'm not fucking
he's like,
with that.
I bounced.
You can keep my house, bitch.
I
go back up top.
Went to New Mexico, chopped it up with my homeboy down there. We barbecued, we drank, we went to a mountain. I fell, we almost died. I almost died. Made it out alive. But that shit was an experience. I wouldn't take that shit back for nothing. Then I hopped over the mountain, went to Colorado. But on the way over the mountain, like you were saying, the fog, I couldn't see past the front of my car. And I'm like, my homeboy Mike's with me. He's like, yo, slow the fuck down. We can't see. I'm like, nah, we 3 hours away. I'm trying to get to Colorado. I'm 120 through the fog that you can't even see past your head, like the hood of your car where your headlights are. And you get close enough, you can see a sign pass by, and that sign got like a big ass fucking animal you ain't never seen before, like some woolly mammoth or some shit. Like, get out the road. Yeah, like you're gonna and he's like, slow down. I'm like, the fog, you can't see. I'm like, nah, I'm trying to get there.
You fucking
that shit was intense, bro, but we was good. I hit that bit 120 through the fog the whole way there.
Bitch, that shit happened to me. We would
it was fun though. It was fun.
From Orlando, you know, the big airport out there in the old town. Mm-hmm. And we hit some fog for a good like half
you were
a
going
mile,
into Florida?
like half a mile.
Are you leaving out?
We was leaving out.
Oh, okay.
No, we was going from Tampa to Orlando to fly out.
All
and
right.
like we hit it in like
A lot of people do that commute. Like they go. Is it cheaper to leave out of Orlando?
Yeah, nah. You know,
is it
international.
I mean, it's
flights,
a tourist. It's tourists
flights.
over there, like all the Orlando, Disney. I think it would be more expensive to fly through there.
Well, they got
international.
They got the international flights because they got a big customs.
Hey, my boy, international. He's doing book signings in the DR.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you like this.
I like that hat though.
That's the Biggie.
Biggie. Can't you see?
I'm gonna tell you like this, man. When you become when you go on a flight and leave the country, you kind of like have that in the back of your mind, like, man, you know, a little bit like nervous or anxious. But when you get to a different country, you start realizing how dope it is outside. Like, you know, see things from a different perspective.
For sure.
Me, even in Florida, I'm seeing things in a different perspective.
Hey, he was showing me video and pictures, and the dude was in the DR and like December, January, picking like ripe avocados off the tree. I'm like, where the fuck do they do that at in December, bro?
And I'm gonna tell you like this: there's only one spot. There's only one spot in DR that you could do
that.
Bro,
these avocados were huge. Oh my god!
And they were so good.
This shit looked fun though. I seen all the video and I seen a lot of pictures of what he's talking about. It looked fun.
That was like a blast. Amazing place, man. An amazing place.
I definitely want to go there. I want to go there. I want to go to PR. But you know, I like culture. I like exploring culture, and I like to get in depth with people's culture. And you know where I want to go? I want to see the mountains. I want to see the pyramids in South America. The Mayan pyramids, and I want to go to Egypt, but I know it's not like Americans. They don't like Americans probably too much over there, but I want to go.
You could go.
I want to go.
If people could go, you could go. You want to go, you just go.
I want to go. I want to go. I want to go to the pyramids, and I want to witness that. I could have went. I could still go. It's not like I can't go, but it's always been a question, and I've been a little hesitant on the perception of different countries because I know our media ain't the same as the media in Africa, and I know we ain't perceived the same way. Maybe they might embrace us and like us as Americans, and maybe they might hate us, but we're not. They don't show us the hate because they want us to spend that tourist money over there.
But listen, other than
I don't want that to ruin my experience of seeing something great, though. You know,
other than you rolling into like a riot somehow, like
you should be fine,
rioting, right? And you're not wilding out, you should be fine, bro. Because police is there to police you. So if you there wilding out, you're gonna get police. You're gonna.
So what's up? It sounds like you trying to plan a trip with me to Egypt.
I don't know about Egypt, but I'll tell you what.
Where we going?
That's what I was finna
Stonehenge.
Tell you. I want to
Stonehenge, Pyramid, South America. Let's go see some historical shit. No.
In the States.
No.
And then do international.
No. You gotta experience some that is almost like life-changing experiments.
Of course, experience
that will make you think of something and change your mind on something and make you look at something different.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see culture from both sides. I don't want to see this is the nice place for tourists goes. It's fancy. I want to see the poor shit. I want to see how people are really living out there. I want to get an idea of everything.
Yeah. You will. I mean, there's third world countries, bro. I mean, to tell you the
what
truth,
about these North Sentinel Islands? These people,
these
North Sentinel Islands that just off of India Ocean that just killed that self-proclaimed missionary dude. You didn't hear about these people?
I think
these people are uninhabited. Their habitat hasn't been touched for like 80,000 years. They're
dark people,
African.
Right?
They're natural descendants from Africa that hasn't. They have probably no Neanderthal DNA. Like you have Neanderthal DNA in you. Excuse me, DNA. I have Neanderthal DNA in me. We all do. Neanderthal is it was not a human. It was not a human species. But it was similar to the humans. We were not the same. We had different DNA, but we had similarities. And the Neanderthals are in all of us because I think we found a way as natural humans. I think we found a way to bleed them out, which was let's keep migrating with them until they're done. There's no more natural Neanderthals. They're all within humans. And then the humans keep migrating until the Neanderthal DNA goes from big to low.
And they
so listen,
in their natural.
Exactly. So every person in the world has Neanderthal DNA in them, except for the natural sub-Saharan Africans. The people that never left Africa and migrated out of Africa, they have no Neanderthal DNA in them, but we do. From 3 to 4%, 3 to 5%. Asians having more, Europeans having more, Chinese having a little less, and us having all around 3% of Neanderthal DNA in us. And I got an episode coming up about that, so you can already see that.
Check that out.
For sure.
You showed me some stuff, and yeah, man, I'm definitely interested, bro. But yo, man, I appreciate the love always, man, because this is dope. Talking about it, it gets a load off my chest just to even be able
get
to
your
put
story
a story
out
together.
Yeah, for sure.
And when every time I get to talk about it, you know, anybody that wants to listen, I'm ready to let them know what happened.
Take advantage of that opportunities.
You know,
get some audio books going on like YouTube where you're just reading your book and people can listen to it while they're sitting there. You know,
it's just that
they do that. That's the thing. That's the thing. People do that. I've listened to audiobooks.
This is strange for me because I don't really want to be in the limelight about it. I want to kind of get the word out because obviously I did it for a reason. Mm-hmm. But this launches me into, like, you know, the next level where I can knock it out of the stratosphere if I go about writing in a different way. Maybe this helped me get
trial and error.
And I could do something else.
That's how a lot of things.
This doesn't have to be what makes me successful. This is just I wanted to talk about it.
Stepping stone.
Because I believe in it. You know,
for sure.
Facts. I got another one coming out.
You gotta talk about things that you believe in. Listen for a second. I might
start about writing about the collective consciousness.
That's cool, but listen for a second. Like you were saying, you said you talk about it because you believe in it. So that's what we were talking about here. We encourage people, talk about things you believe in. Be passionate about what you believe in. Do research about what you believe in. Question what you believe in, and get scientific answers from what you believe in. Because at the end of the day, science don't lie, and neither can your answers.
Yeah.
So,
listen, everything that you said, I put into a perspective. If you know, you do the same type of work that I put into it.
For sure.
You know, you got to research things. You can't just put information out and think that, you know, you're coming from a place. And you know, I can even go as far as saying maybe I didn't research it enough. Maybe I didn't write enough. Maybe I didn't put out enough. But this is all that interested me in putting out this type of information.
I was questioning you from a different perspective that, you know, your book didn't cover. But I was wondering because you were there. That's why.
Yeah. So I did because
I mean, you're good. I mean,
you know what it is.
From what I read of it so far, it's interesting. It keeps you into it and keeps you wanting to read to see what's gonna happen next.
You know what it is. I questioned it as well. I'm like, damn, like, all right, the Twin Towers fell. How did that fall? Like, I think it was already 5 days in, so maybe there was even conspiracy theories already put.
You got there late. You got there late. It's not like you were there the next day and you got to see what really happened.
Exactly.
They could have been there melting shit already. Like you said, whenever you first got there, you said you couldn't get close unless you had clearance. They probably didn't want to, you know, the first couple days they were fucking.
Or maybe not. Or maybe it was just something
where the other way.
And
but you know? The only, I mean, there is one fact. And I'm not anti-Semitic, and I'm not trying to bash Jews, because the last chick I had sex with was a Jewish woman. I'm not even lying. And but hey, I'm not lying.
You're not anti-Semitic, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but
oh man,
no Jew.
You're just misogynist.
No Jew died in 9/11. No Jewish person died. Sorry, not no Jew. I don't want to say it like that. But no Jewish person died. They all caught out of work that day. And it's, I mean, you can look this shit up. Nobody was admitted to fly on 9/11 when they shut everything down. Nobody was admitted to fly in America. No. But you know who was?
The Bin Ladens.
Exactly. Come on, man. And that's real. That's true. It's out there.
I'm telling you, I know that.
And you know, Bin Laden been rich. He ain't need money. Dude created You know how they put Coke or Pepsi in a can And that aluminum cam don't rust. You know why it don't rust? Because there's a secret coating in there that's non-toxic to human. Inside. Bin Laden created that coating that goes in there. Dude's a forever rich just because of that. Because every can ever sold has that in there. No matter what it is. Like, dude had his own money. The CIA, you know why they gave billions to Al-Qaeda? Because they started Al-Qaeda. Because they needed Al-Qaeda to come war with us, so we can lend money from the banker, borrow money from the bankers to go to war with them
and take them out.
And the same thing with ISIS. We started ISIS. Maybe fucking Obama helped start ISIS before he left, not knowing that he's arming these rebels, and these rebels turn into ISIS, which he had every right to arm those rebels. I ain't saying nothing bad against Obama, because he won the Nobel Prize. He did a lot of shit. I'm not saying nothing bad against him. No. But he armed rebels in Syria. Rebels needed to be armed in Syria. They were destroying ISIS. Shit. Al-Assad was dropping chemical bombs on the citizens of Syria, and I've seen videos of little kids, 3 years old, flipping around in their hospital bed like, am I dead? Am I dead? They're fucking chemically fucked up in the head. They're dropping chemical bombs, bro. It gives me fucking cold chills to this day. I don't even want to talk about it, because you know what happened? My father was in Vietnam War, and the only thing that ended Vietnam War was that little fucking girl that was running down the street naked, like 8 years old, 9 years old. She's running down the street naked. She took her clothes off because she's fucking burning from napalm bombs, and she took her clothes off. She's running down the street naked. That photo got leaked in the United States. It got leaked. Crazy. We didn't report it. It got leaked, and that's what ended up getting to protesters, and what ended up them stopping the Vietnam War, because of that photo. Wow. And I have that photo. I have that photo in one of my videos. It's ridiculous, bro. My father was involved with that war. He joined that war because my uncle was drafted at 18 years old. So my father said, I'm not letting you go, being like 2 or 3 years older than him. I'm not letting you go by yourself. And my father, joined the war, that Vietnam War, with them. And the stories are ridiculous. And
born on the 4th of July, ain't it?
He was. My father was born on the 4th of July, Independence Day.
See what I mean? Small coincidences, man.
I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in purpose, crazy, baby. Man. Purpose, baby. Purpose and reason. I believe in no coincidences. No accidents or coincidences. It's purpose and reason. Listen, it's not an accident or a coincidence that Earth is floating. Our Earth is floating in the middle of nothing. If Earth just fell, how far would it fall? Would it fall forever? Or if it went up, how far would it go? Would it go up forever? Right? Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. We're floating.
It's amazing.
There's
even thinking about it.
Is that real? Are we really in this bitch right now?
Take the blue pill or the red pill?
We took a pill.
Hey, but listen, let me dedicate this book to you, man, because I got a boogie.
Yeah, for sure. But, so the book is My 9/11.
The handle for the Instagram is at My 9/11 book. You can check it out. And, if you want, show love. I appreciate it. And you can get the book on Amazon. It's, you can look it up as DeBrazzi, which is my author name.
Fernando S. DeBrazzi,
Fernando S. DeBrazzi. 2 Z's.
At the end of the day, DeBrazzi, 2 Z's with an I.
DeBrazzi. And that's, is an alias. It's a long story behind it. Maybe when we do another show, we could get into it. And, like I said, it's small coincidences that might not be coincidences. It might be destiny.
There's no coincidences. Purpose and reason. No coincidences and accidents. Yeah. So check it out. You can check the spots where he was telling you. He's going to sign a copy for me to keep here.
Let me get that gold jump off right there.
Gold metallic. It's
yes, sir.
9/11. My 9/11. Fernando S. DeBrazzi. 2 Z's. I at the end. So we signing out. It's Level 1 Woke. Stay woke. Peace, podcasters.
Joe Banks.